Okay, guys, we are live. For those listening at home, thanks. Welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Sorry, guys, I had a message pop up as we were going live, so I was distracted. Gotcha. Today we were going to be continuing on with our Atomic Paris campaign, but if unfortunately, we were down a player at the last minute who's sick. So instead, we are going to be taking out the Cubicle 7's One Ring RPG for another spin. At the time of recording, Sean and Arlen and I are fresh from from my maiden voyage with the One Ring. And we had been talking it up so much to James that he agreed to take yet another trip to Middle-earth with us. So, what we're going to do today is we know we're going to set our kind of game in or adventure in Bree, and we know that that's really all we know. So, we're going to create some characters today. We are going to be talking through sort of what that process is. We are, for the most part, restricting ourselves just to what is in the first edition core rulebook. At the time of recording, this is the only edition, but coming very soon, there is going to be a second edition, which is available for pre-order right now. The one exception to that is going to be Sean's character, who is going to be from the Bree source book as well. Arlen, I see you put your finger up. Did you have a...
I was going to correct you because this Cubicle 7 names things weird, because this is actually sort of the 1.5 edition. There was an actual first edition from even before this, and this is the revised core rulebook that they decided would be first edition. And now there's going to be another second edition that's actually called The Lord of the Rings, The One Ring, instead of just The One Ring.
Yeah.
Their naming conventions are all over the place.
Okay, so I'm just doing one quick thing here, making sure that we are going live here. There we go. And all right. Oh, sorry, guys. All right, so for today, we are going to talk first about what the One Ring, what we do to make characters in the One Ring. So, I think all of us are familiar with Tolkien, some, more so than others. And one of the things we had talked, the reason we're starting a little late is partly because we were figuring out what we were going to do today, and partly because we were talking about, what we really enjoyed about the first couple of times. I've played the One Ring twice now. Arlen, is it twice or 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. I've played 3 times, and I have run it once, and I've really, really enjoyed the game. It really has a different feel at the table than what other games have. It feels like it's got a good mechanical kind of crunch to it in addition, and there's a good game there, but it also has some really great story game kind of elements to it that I think makes for a really evocative Tolkien-esque experience at the table. Very distinct from other role-playing games. And that actually starts from the character creation. So, and forgive me for repeating stuff that some of you guys may know already, but what you do to make your character is you make a selection of basically the 3 different things. One of them is the culture that your character is going to be from. Rather than having like races or ancestries in the One Ring, you have cultures that you come from. From that culture, then you pick one kind of skill package or attribute and skill package, and then that dictates sort of within the lens of that culture what your character's kind of stuff is. And then finally you pick a calling, and a calling is sort of what your heroic archetype is in the context of a Tolkien story. While you're doing that, you also pick something very cool called traits, which are your specialties and your distinctive features, which have a fun story game kind of mechanic to them as well. It's the things that really set your character apart from any other character that has those things. And then there's a little bit of customization that happens at the end. So, we know that maybe the first place to start here, guys, is to pick our cultures. So, Sean, I know you're going to be playing Man of Bree.
Yep.
Okay. Arlen, I know you have the book. Which hero culture do you want to be from?
I was thinking it'd be fun to be an elf of Mirkwood.
Elf of Mirkwood. Okay, cool. And then for James, your selections are Bardings, so someone from Lake Town, Bjornings, Dwarves of the Lonely Mountain, Elves of Mirkwood, Hobbits of the Shire, or Woodmen of Wilderland.
Well, I normally detest them, so I would like to be a hobbit.
Nice! I love hobbits! Hobbits are so awesome. Okay, great. So then you will be a hobbit. And do you want to be a hobbit from the Shire, or I think there's hobbits from Bree, aren't there? Isn't there a...
Interesting question.
I thought that in the Bree book, I know there's the men of Bree.
There's the wild hobbits of the Anduin Vale, but I don't think there are hobbits from Bree.
Not hobbits from Bree. Okay, so then it's hobbits of the Shire. Or
Yeah,
the Shire.
From the Shire.
From the Shire. Excellent. So then, let's see here. The next thing we need to pick then is your kind of... what you can do is you can pick or you can randomly roll. If you want to pick, let me tell you what the options are, and then you can decide whether you want to randomly roll. Arlen and Sean, I trust that you guys know kind of what you're able to copy from the book, so maybe you, while James and I are working through this, you guys start filling in your character sheets, and then you can tell us what you've decided. Sound good?
I'll be slow. I've only used pre-gens for this game.
Oh, okay, okay, great. So well, then you know what? Let's just do this all at once here, and we can talk through what we're deciding. And all right, so for James, the first thing we have to record is the common skills that you get from your culture. So if you could open up your character sheet, James, and what I'll do is maybe I'll just in chat I will put in what skills. If I don't give you a number in it, that means you've got a 0 in that skill to start.
You know what? On page 40 of the Bree book, there are Bree hobbits. I see. So I'm just throwing that in there. On page 40.
So do you want the Bree book?
All right.
Okay.
Bree book.
James, you want to be traveling from the Shire, or you want to be from Bree?
I'll go vanilla as Shire.
Shire, love it.
Vision
Okay.
of a...
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So these are the skills that you need to fill in as you're starting things here. And forgive me for those listening at home for the typing here. Oh man, you're stealthy. Okay, so those are the skills that you have, and all you need to do is just tick the number of circles in there. And then also, if you could click on stealth, that will make it underlined. That indicates that it is a favored skill for you.
Now, so on the
stealth
character sheet, right?
Yep, and it is about partway down.
Yep.
Oh, that's so great. So, I'll open up your character sheet as we're doing this. Just character.
I'm missing something. Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is what make sure you're changing it to player character sheet. Sorry guys, I should have said. So under your character sheet here, James, this is boom. For culture, you're going to put Hobbits of the Shire.
Yep.
And then you know what I'll do actually here while you're doing that. Let me I'll fill in your skills for you to start because you're not making any decisions on these anyway, and that's maybe easier than you going back and forth between chat and the character sheet. So one of the things about this particular character sheet as well is it's very easy to accidentally change your stats. So once you've got your stats into, it's best to try and only click your mouse button when you're over one of the dice to actually make the dice roll. Okay, so I've got your common skills entered there, and in this game it makes a distinction between the common skills and your weapon skills. They're not only are they tracked in separate areas, you use different experience points, resources to advance them, which is clever. I mean, there's games that in Savage Worlds they separate in a superhero setting your superhero power pool from your normal character's experience points, which is genius. And this does similar things, so your characters can keep advancing in their common skills without becoming combat monsters at the same time. Now you have a choice James, whether you wish to focus on short sword, so a melee fighting, or ranged fighting with a bow. Because you pick one of two different kind of sets of combat stats. You can have a short sword at 2, and then bow at 1, and dagger at 1, or bow at 2, and short sword at 1, and dagger at 1.
A bad idea, but he would like to be a swordsman.
Nice!
Dreams.
Of course. Clearly from, what is it, Stour? Stock. Okay, and we'll fill in the stats for this in a moment. And bow is at 1. And dagger. Oops. Oh, sorry, James. I think I'm writing at the same time as you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, it's my fault. Okay, so there we go. Got that. And then I'm going to click the... You see the little box next to short sword? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tick that for you because it is favored for you as well. Okay. Now you also have, and this is something to record under your notes later, or further down, or background if you want. This is your cultural blessing. Every culture gets some special little, like, cultural thing that makes them distinct from others. So, Sean, just so we know where we're going with yours, you have the cultural blessing of Bree blood.
Yep.
And
just added that to my character sheet.
Nice. So when the men of Bree are required to make a fear test provoked by the special ability of an adversary, the difficulty of the roll is raised by 1 level. Conversely, when they must make a corruption test for any reason, the difficulty is reduced by 2 levels.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So they are quite easily startled, but they...
Almost a little Hobbit-like in that... because they don't like adventuring either, apparently. It's looked at with suspicion.
Nice. So what Hobbit Sense does, James, is every Hobbit character in the group increases the company's fellowship rating by 1 point, which is awesome. Because the fellowship rating are the pools of points you can use to refill your hope as you spend it. Hope is a spending or a depletable resource in this. And in addition, when making a wisdom roll, you can roll the feat dice twice and keep the better result. All task resolution in the One Ring is you're rolling a feat dice, which is effectively a fancy D12, and a number of success dice, which are D6s. So your cultural blessing is Hobbit Sense. And the thing you need, I'll remember the bit about the fellowship pool. The only thing you need to... remember. What about Arlen? What is the Elves of Mirkwood? What is your cultural ability or cultural blessing?
My cultural blessing is called Folk of the Dusk. It allows me Folk of the Dusk, not of the dust. Yeah. Folk of the Dusk allows me whenever I am underground or in a forest in darkness or in some situation where basically it's low light, I get to treat every common skill as favored.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow, that's pretty great.
It's pretty cool, yeah. So I get, which you still have to spend the hope to get the favored bonus, but it's still pretty cool.
Great. Okay, now the next thing you do is you see at the top of the character sheet there are specialities and distinctive features. What you're going to do is pick 2 of these traits. These come from your culture as well. So any 2 of these: cooking, gardener, herb lore, smoking, storytelling, or tunneling. I'll go through those one more time for you. Cooking, gardener, herb lore, smoking, storytelling, or tunneling.
I'll go for smoking.
Okay.
And storytelling.
Love it. So that's probably under specialties then. You go ahead and list those there. Excellent. Okay, then what we do in Sean, for yours, the men of Bree have appraising, cooking, herb lore, smoking, trading, or woodwright.
And let's see. I was just working my way down. Where's that, Kevin?
That is on page 40.
Yep.
It is just under specialties or specialities.
Cool. I just gotten there. We're on perfect timing.
Excellent.
Got it. Appraising, cooking, herb lore, smoking.
And the way that the traits work, and I think, James, you said you watched yesterday's session already, so you may know this already. You can use it for a number of different things. For one, if you need to get an advancement point, you can ask if the trait would apply, and you can get a point, and that's a resource you use during the fellowship phase to advance your character. You can use it to get an automatic success on something. It can't be a contested roll, but you can get an automatic success on something where that would apply. And the way I've been using is pretty fast and loose, so there's some way to explain why that might play in. We'll do that. And in addition, you can use it to sort of retroactively do something, to add something. We actually saw this in yesterday's session where John's character had dropped. He wasn't sure he didn't expressly say that he picked up his bow before he hopped in a boat and went after these black Numenorians. But we said, well, he's swift though, so sure. As he was running the boat, he scooped down, grabbed it, and leapt into the boat.
Nice.
So it's a cool. There's a number of different cool ways you can use those key elements of your characters to sort of affect the story.
So smoking, are we thinking that's for food, or is that?
Smoking is.
I'm sorry.
So traits are kind of yeah. Yeah, it's not like brisket.
Right. That's what I'm like. Wait, what?
Kev, I'm not so sure about this game anymore. What is it?
Well,
Iron Chef, the RPG.
Unique. I mean, but of course, smoking. So smoking's going to be just kind of like you're a plume, right? You're a plume with smoking.
It's however you choose to be able to bring that in. Bringing in evocative elements to the game definitely, it fits with the Tolkien kind of sensibilities. So I think that it's what you choose to make of your traits more so than than an express list of what you can do.
Right.
So in terms of backgrounds, and what the backgrounds dictate, James, is where your next favored skill is, what your starting attributes are, and 2 more of your traits. So the 6 things that hobbits have from the Shire is Restless Farmer, Too Many Paths to Tread, A Good Listener, Witty Gentleman, Bucklander, or Tookish Blood. So those again are Restless Farmer, Too Many Paths to Tread, A Good Listener, Witty Gentleman, Bucklander, or Tookish Blood. What are you thinking?
So I choose 2 of those.
One of those. This will set what your background is.
Now, Tookish Blood, remind me.
So Tookish Blood, you grew up peacefully in a farmhouse in the Marish East Farthing until something Tookish stirred in your blood and overcame your respectability. It first happened on your way home one night when you spotted some outlandish folk in a bright campfire. When you described them to your grandmother, she told you they were dwarves on their way to the Blue Mountains. From that night, you started to shun well-trodden paths, hoping to meet other wayfarers secretly crossing the Shire. For that particular background, you get a body of 2, a heart of 7, and wits of 5. So it's your...
That's my boy.
That's your boy. Excellent.
That's
okay. Good. So then you can record your basic attributes at bodies 2, heart is 7, and wits as 5. Then you can also click on explore and to underline it. So the actual word itself, that will then underline explore for you, and that means that is a favored skill for you.
Sorry, where's explore?
Explore is under the leftmost column under common skills. Okay, and then you get to choose 2 distinctive features from this list: adventurous, bold, elusive, generous, merciful, reckless, robust, or true-hearted. So those again, adventurous, bold, elusive, generous, merciful, reckless, robust, or true-hearted. You get 2 of those.
So adventurous and bold, I think.
Excellent.
So he will never get old.
Yeah. So you have adventurous and bold under your distinctive features. Okay, Tookish Blood is actually not a trait. It is just a kind of it's what your background is.
Okay.
Yeah, so your 2 under distinctive features, adventurous and bold. And Sean, what background did you go with for your character?
I'm reading them right now. Let's see. Dwarves or Chetwood or Gate Warden. Pizza Bree.
Okay, we've got your names down. Okay, so let's talk about, while you're making that decision, James,
Yep.
we're going to talk about your calling. All right, first off, hold on. Arlen, which one did you go with?
So I'm an elf of Mirkwood with a musical legacy. My
Ooh.
father was a minstrel, and his work will be praised for countless years, but his talent passed on to me transformed into a love for music that lies in plain speech.
Excellent.
So I am fair-spoken as well as being skilled at courtesy.
Excellent.
I'm also a fucking lore beast because I have Elven lore, Mirkwood lore, and Shadow lore, so I know all about all the things.
Now, for your callings, what the callings do is they give you an opportunity to add 2 more favored skills. You get another trait, and then you get what's called a shadow weakness as well. So, James, these ones are Scholar, Slayer, Treasure Hunter, Wanderer, or Warden. And those are Scholar, Slayer, Treasure Hunter, Wanderer, or Warden.
And I pick one?
One of those, yeah.
I go for Wanderer.
Wanderer, love it. I've had a feeling. So under your calling, you can put down Wanderer. Oh, and under your standard of living as well. I think it's prosperous for hobbits, but let me double check here. Yeah. So under your standard of living, you can put prosperous. Hobbits don't really live in, hard scrabble circumstances. So, so then what you get is your new trait under specialities, you can put folklore. Your shadow weakness is wandering madness. And what you can also do is now, do you see under the common skills on the rightmost column, there's a thing that says skill groups?
Yep.
Okay. Those are to be read across as rows. Now, your 2 favored skill groups are custom and survival. And what you can do is pick 2 of the skills within within 2 in total from the survival or custom role, and that will become a favored skill for you. The reason the favored skills are matter is because you get to add your favored stat or your favored attribute when you spend a point of hope rather than your regular attribute. So for... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, so then what you can basically do is pick 2 from Song, Healing, Courtesy, Hunting, and Riddle. 2 of those will also become favored attributes. You just click on them and underline them. Sean, did you get your background?
No longer free from care and fear. I hung out with rangers. And,
whoa, very cool.
That's what clued me in that there was much beyond the land of Bree.
Interesting. Okay. And then, what about your calling, Arlen? Did you pick that?
Yes, I am a warden. So I have sort of been at the frontier and trying to protect people, and I'm also seduced by the lure of power because of my warden nature.
Excellent. Very cool. And you gain shadow lore now, too. So you said shadow lore, Mirkwood lore, and what's the other one?
And elven lore. So I boosted my lore skill that was already really high with previous experience. So I have well, here, let me roll lore to show you. Fuck. Rolling an Eye of Sauron on the first one. That's the way it goes.
Oh, so you spent your experience already too?
I'm all done.
You're all done. Oh, great. Terrific. Okay, cool. What did you take? Did you choose to bump your wisdom or your valor?
I chose to bump my valor, and I have a special bow now that allows me to make an extra volley on the volley round of before combat.
Very cool.
Which ties in with having a nice bow skill. So,
yeah. Okay. And let's see here. We are, I think, yes. Okay, courtesy and song. Love it. Okay, so you are good there, Branda Brass. And Next thing we need to do is record your... Oh, okay. Next thing we need to do, James, is... So now we're going to pick your favored stats. And what you do is one of them will have your regular... So basically the way it works is you get to add 3 to one of them, 2 to another, and 1 to a third. So you get to pick whether, your body is modified by +3, +2, or +1, and then you... Whatever one you don't, or whatever 2 you don't pick, go to the other ones. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining that, but does that make sense?
Yep, so just between those 3?
Yeah, between those 3 stats, so your body, your heart, and your wits, one of them will get +3 to determine your favored, one of them will get +1 to determine your favored, one of them will get +2 to determine your favored.
And then I will do heart +3.
Okay. So you enter 10 as your favorite, then you get to add +2 or +1 to... Oh, those are the other 2 leftover ones, so...
And then +2 for body.
Okay, so your body will be... Your favorite will be 4.
+1.
To wits, okay? Excellent. He's got a big heart! Alright, so now we're going to list your endurance. Your endurance is for hobbits, 16, plus your heart, your regular heart score, which is 7. Wow, so you got 23 endurance. Pretty awesome. Whoopsies. And your hope for a hobbit is 12 plus your heart score, so 19 to start, which is... I remember why I liked playing Hobbit before. Oof. That's crazy. All right. Okay, then... The... last thing I think you need to do there, we'll enter your equipment in a moment here, but I think the last thing we need to do is to add your, what do you call it, add your experience points. So you have 10 experience points you can spend. I'm just going to type in chat what the cost will be. So you need to pay those progressively as well too. So if you're going to raise, say you want to raise your insight from 1 up to 3, it'll cost you 5 points. You can also raise your weapon skills, but do you want to know what that costs, or are you not going to focus on your weapon skills?
Tell me the weapon skills.
Sure. Yeah.
He doesn't.
Basically, it's double. So here it is.
Double. Okay.
Nope, not 76. It's 6. Sorry.
So need 6. It takes 6 to improve his short sword.
Yes, if you want to increase his short sword, it'll take 6 of the 10 you have.
Yeah, we'll forget that.
Okay. And then we have one of the most important things to pick afterwards, too.
Okay, so I'm going to go... So that's 2 down.
Okay. All right.
3, 4, 5.
Oh, Azura. Sorry, yeah. Today's just going to be. Sorry, there's some folks in chat. George is in it. Hey, George. Hey, Brian. Hey, Ice King. Hey, Azura. Yeah, no, this is. We were down to player today, so we're just picking up, doing a pickup session of One Ring to let James have a chance to kind of see what the fuss we made about it after yesterday's session was all about. If I get back to One Ring on a regular basis, it's definitely going to be in the time of Gondor, or the time of the other campaign, because that was really, really fun. And I think Arlen, you still have not looked up any.
I haven't looked up. Well, so I know some of. Right, I recognize Castamere.
Yes, yeah.
But
okay,
I think George and I were both on the same page about that. But not Vinyarian, not Vinitharia, none of the other kind of minor. Well, I know that many of them changed their names when they get to positions of power. So I also haven't searched anything to who does this person become.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I would definitely, if I was going to run an ongoing campaign, that's the time period I would run in, because it's so interesting. And
it's very cool.
And there's so much freedom to really blow up the world, without ruining the actual canon. When you've only got a couple of waypoints you really need to hit, it's a lot easier. Okay. Where are we? Sean, how are things going with your guy?
Good. Making my way through the cultural virtues.
Oh, wow. So you're, making good headway. What calling did you go with?
I went with Warden.
Warden as well, too. Okay, cool.
So protecting the Bree.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, and... Let's see. And, did you spend your points, James?
Yep, all gone.
All gone. Okay, great. Then the last thing you need to make the decision on is, you'll see at the top on the right, there are 3 kind of special... Oh, this character sheet isn't displaying properly. There are 3 features. There we go. Or 3 kind of, not features, but things there. Experience, valor, and wisdom. Now, one of those... Of the Valor and Wisdom, one of them will start at 2, and one of them will start at 1. Your Valor is sort of what you're known for in martial prowess and heroic endeavors. Wisdom is being one of the wise, is being the learned counsel and things like that. The major difference between that decision is whether you get to start with a cultural virtue, which is like a personal inbuilt thing from getting wisdom, or a cultural reward, which is like an item, something that comes from your culture, and that's a cultural reward, and that's with valor. If your valor starts at 2, so do you see your character starting with a 2 in valor or a 2 in wisdom?
Valor, I think.
Valor, excellent. Okay, so put down valor at 2, wisdom at 1. And then you get a choice of one of these 3 items. 1 is Bow of the North Downs. Is one of the oldest stories told in the Shire. Remembers how a company of the best archers that the Shire could muster went north to aid the king in battle. They never returned, but a number of the very strong bows are said to have been recovered from the battlefield and preserved to this day. So it's a badass bow. King's Blade is the second one. At times, country hobbits find ancient swords inside fallen mounds, amid tilled fields, or washed ashore along a watercourse. Unable to discover their precise origin, they simply call them King Blades, or King's Blade. What this one is if you roll a great or an extraordinary success on an attack using a King's Blade, you spend 1 point of hope to automatically inflict a piercing blow. And what that is something that potentially can wound someone. The combat mechanics in this track 2 different things. They track your endurance, how combat wears you down, and then those lucky strikes where you might actually wound someone. And the last one is Lucky Armor. Suits of armor are very praised ornaments in the houses of the great families of the Shire. The best among them can be still put to proper use if an adventurous hobbit demonstrates he deserves it. And what this one is if you're hit by a piercing blow while wearing lucky armor, roll the feat dice twice and keep the best result for the protection test. So this is what happens is when you are hit with a piercing blow, you will make an armor check, which is a feat dice plus a number of success dice equal to whatever the armor is. What this lets you do is re-roll that d12 and take the better of the 2 results. So I'm assuming it's not the bow, given what he went in. So is it a King's Blade that he is taking with him, or the Lucky Armor?
Ooh, tricky one.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's harsh. I think I'll go with the Lucky Armor.
Lucky Armor, excellent. Okay, so then we'll decide what your character, what gear he starts with then, because what's assumed is that, so the way encumbrance works in this is it basically, it increases the likelihood of you getting exhausted early. There's a state called is it called exhausted?
Weary.
Weary. So there's a state called Weary, which basically, when you make any attribute tests or any skill checks, instead of counting the 1, 2, 3 on your success dice, you ignore them.
Ah, okay.
So you lose. So basically, what you're constantly kind of doing is you want to wear enough armor to be able to have some protection, but you also don't want to get yourself so you're like, just fight,
Okay.
So then, let me see here. Now let's talk about what your but what is assumed. The reason I mention that is because that's why they don't really care about what gear you start with. You can pick whatever you want. You have to carry all that shit. We're going to assume that it is the summertime, guys. And let's see. Which means, and the reason that's important is because your traveling gear will occupy 2 encumbrance. And that's assumed to be all of your whatever traveling equipment you need. You can put under your gear. Go ahead and put summer traveling gear, and it has an encumbrance of 2. And Sean, how is your guy going? What did you go with for your cultural virtue or reward?
So it's not clear. Do you get all these? It doesn't say you pick one.
No, you get to pick one of them.
I see.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah, 1 reward or 1 virtue, depending on whether you took valor or wisdom. You can also, there are some generic ones at the beginning of the list, and the generic ones are actually not bad, depending on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, the reason I didn't mention them is because I want the cultural flavor for the first level,
okay,
or for starting off stuff, just because they're much more evocative than just like a flat damage bonus or something like that.
What was that choice I was supposed to make? Valor or what?
Valor or wisdom, you choose one of them.
Sorry, what you were going to say?
I was going to say, especially for Warriors in 1, the one that reduces your edge for your weapon is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's
what's Valor or Wisdom called? What's the category?
So right at the top, top right, there are 3 kind of diamond shapes there. All right, so sorry, I am trying to find... The one thing I will say for the first or second, the 1.5 edition of this, the core rulebook, it is beautiful. It is not easy to navigate. Their stuff is kind of hidden in places that don't feel intuitive. It's not super long, so it's not horrible. But yeah. Okay, so your let's see here. Your combat values, James. Your damage is equal to your body, which is 2. Oh, you guys gonna be hard hitting. Your parry is equal to your wits, so it's a 5. And then your armor will be dictated by what kind of armor you're wearing. So let me add in. It's assumed that you've got each of the weapons that you have skills in too, if you want to. So let's see here. Let me add those in so you can see where your encumbrance is sitting right now. Damage 10, edge is 10, injury. So what those stats mean as well, James, is the damage is what you automatically do on a success. If you roll a great success, which is you roll a 6 and you succeed on one of the success dice, then that means you got a great success. You get to add your damage combat value into the damage. If you roll a extraordinary success, which is 2 6s, you get to add it twice. In addition, if on the feat dice you roll a 10 or higher, which is what your edge of your weapon is, then the target needs to make an armor check against the injury rating of your weapon. If they fail that, they become wounded. And there's no second wounded. So you're wounded, you get a second wound, it's been nice knowing you, Boromir. So,
yeah.
All right, so there's your short sword, the dagger. The dagger is honestly hot garbage in this game. I don't know why anyone would ever use it, but I guess if you don't have anything else.
Yeah, I think the idea is that because it's encumbrance 0, that you're expected to be always carrying a dagger.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's absolutely true. Okay, so your bow, and the reason you might carry a bow is only because of the combat element. The way combat works is combat has an opening round where you can exchange volleys of shots as parties are kind of charging towards each other. I don't know why I needed to make that sound effect, but that's not true. You guys have played with me long enough to know I'm incapable of not making them.
So you pick wisdom or valor, and depending on which one, you pick either a cultural reward or a virtue.
Yep, that's precisely it.
So if I picked valor, which one do you get?
Then you would get a reward.
Reward. Okay.
Yeah, valor gets you stuff. Wisdom gets you inbuilt things. So for you, your cultural rewards are Gatekeeper's Lantern, Pipe of the Prancing Pony, or Shield of the First Men, which is a great shield, which weighs a lot. So it's also really good. Like the upside to it is that you get to add double your rating when you're using the shield to block against archers, as Sigdag learned yesterday.
Right. Yep.
Wow. When you're fighting in the forward stance, carrying a shield of the first men, if you get a Gandalf rune on the feat die, which is a 12, all attacks aimed at you the following Lore Master turn are considered to automatically fail.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a pretty badass thing. That is one element of, like, for the gamist side of the equation too, there are so many neat little tweaks with the virtues and the rewards.
And it's for how much stuff there is, it's really well balanced.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people on the forums that complain about little things, but considering how many little things that there are, they did a really good job of having like every choice is an interesting decision between.
Are you telling me that someone took to the internet to convey displeasure with a product they claim to like? I am shocked.
A community forum that might have some like long-term complaints about something that they all are there to express their love for, that never happens.
Okay, now for Brandabras. Brandabras, you get to pick an armor here. So, and this will be your lucky armor. Basically, you are choosing between a... Well, here's the I'll keep going up until we get to Endurance 16, because at 16, you're kind of... Past that is a male hauberk, and you're definitely going to be weary to start. So, a leather shirt has an encumbrance of 4 and a protection of 1d8, or sorry, of 1 dice. Leather corselet has an encumbrance of 8 and 2 dice. A mail shirt has 12 and 3 dice. A coat of mail has 16 and 4 dice. So basically, every 4 points of encumbrance you get an additional dice to roll on that check to try and avoid getting wounded. So, I'm assuming it's going to be probably between the mail shirt and the coat of mail. Mail shirt is 12 with 3 dice, and coat of mail is 16 with 4 dice.
Let's go with the lucky mail shirt.
Lucky mail shirt. Okay, great. So then you can record... the encumbrance is 12.
Yep.
And you can add armor, put in 3 there. And then if you want to carry a shield has an encumbrance rating of 3, but it adds... Oh, here's the 2 things you can carry. You carry a buckler, which has an encumbrance rating of 1, that adds +1 to your parry rating. Your parry rating is what we use to determine how hard you are to hit, and impart. And then the shield is 3 encumbrance, which adds +2 to your parry rating. So the next one is a great shield, which is +5, or +5 in encumbrance. And I'm assuming you... Don't want to be like...
I don't think you're allowed to use a great shield as a hobbit, actually. There's special rules for hobbits and dwarves can't use certain things because they're small.
There you go. So do you, if you like to use a shield, and you see yourself as a sword and board hobbit, a buckler is 1 encumbrance with +1 to your parry. Shield is 3 encumbrance with +2 to your parry.
How important is this? Because otherwise I'd go with a buckler, or am I just going to die instantly?
No, it depends on what stance you fight in. Like you can see so if we minimize your character sheet, you can see that there is, on the right side of the screen, there are 4 different stances there: forward, open, defensive, and rearward.
Gotcha.
Okay.
What that is... forward would be a mistake.
Forward makes it easy to hit things.
Yeah. So what the way that combat works, broadly speaking, is you pick a stance, and it's an abstracted kind of interpretation of where you are in the fray. It dictates how hard you are to hit and how hard it is to hit your enemies. Heroes go first unless they're unless they are. Well, defenders go first. Is that right?
It's whoever has initiative goes first, which is generally the defenders.
Yeah. So it's generally speaking, assuming that the bad guys are going to be attacking you guys, it will be you guys go, then the lore master, so my characters go, and we go through each rank individually. We do forward, open, defensive, then rearward. Forward has a 6, then 9 for open, 12 for defensive, and 12 for rearward, and then you add your parry stat to that. So the shield helps if you want to, to not get hit. If you don't get hit, you don't take any damage whatsoever. Your armor helps you to avoid getting wounded. Your shield helps you prevent from getting hit. So, does that help you in your determination? Why don't we do this? If you can't decide, why don't you take a buckler and then see if you need to upgrade to a shield at some point?
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So a buckler is 1?
A buckler is 1 encumbrance, and under the shield, under combat values, you can put a 1. Your parry's pretty high already, too, so...
Yep, let's do that.
Excellent.
Seems more fitting a buckler.
Yeah.
It seems like, I'm not sure, choose your hero's favorite attributes.
Okay, so here's the way that works, Sean, is... On your character, let's see here, Sean's character. Boom.
Because I don't think Bree goes into that. I have to go back to the.
No, this is actually something that is independent of that. This is just you choosing for your character. Your background told you what your base attributes are. What you now get to pick is your favored. One of them add +3, one of them add +2, and one of them add +1. And you get to pick which ones those are. So you could bump your heart up to 10 by adding 3. You could. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So your favored body you can put to 6. Then you get to add 2 to one of the others, and then 1 to the final one.
We'll probably just do it.
Okay, and now there's something else we need to do for you. What was your background again, Sean? Right. No longer free from care. Okay.
Yes.
So you're explorer. Oh, and you also have Riddle as a favored one.
Okay.
And your calling was Warden, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So then, Sean, you also get to pick from personality. You see the rows across here from skill groups? There's the personality row, which is those top ones, and there's survival. So from those, from one of the 2 ones that are not favored yet, or any of the ones from personality, pick 2 of those to also become favored skills.
Between personality and survival, choose 2.
Yes, so you can pick 2 of awe, inspire, persuade, healing, or hunting.
Okay.
That's something that comes from your calling. And then I think Brandabras is good to go. Heladir, you are good to go as well?
I am good to go.
Okay, so let's help Sean with...
So I've done that.
Okay, excellent. So now, where are you? You're still selecting your cultural reward?
So choose your hero's favorite attributes. We did that, right?
Yeah, did that. Now
spend previous experience to buy skill levels.
Which, hold on, you took Valor at 2 and Wisdom at 1, right?
Valor at 2 and Wisdom at 1, I did.
Okay, so I'll put that in for you.
Okay.
Oops, no, that's 0. Come on, Kev. Get it together. All right. Now, you can... I'll add the stats for your axes, bows, and dagger in there.
Okay.
But you need... What did you pick as your cultural virtue? Oh, so that's actually your reward. Let me just cut and paste that for you. Because the virtues are the things that are inbuilt, like the things about your character's personality. The rewards are stuff.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right, so then, yes, you get to spend the 10, and if you look in chat, I gave the point cost for those, for common skills and for combat skills, or weapon skills.
All right. And the commons, I see. Got it. Okay, yep. Gotcha. Okay.
I will fill in...
How many points do I get?
10 points in total.
10. Got it. All right.
that you can then spend as you will. Okay, and I'm looking for... oh, Men of Bree are also prosperous.
Bree.
And your shadow weakness... Is it Lure of Power, Arlen? Is it Lure of Power for the Warden?
Yes, Lure of Power is the Warden.
Okay, shadow weakness, great. Okay. Your Bonnie is a 3, so your damage bonus is a 3, range is a 3, your parry is a 3 from your wits. And we'll figure out what armor and shield and stuff you got. You also have... Let's see here. Yeah, the Bree blood is interesting. It's a neat... what do you call it? It's neat cultural blessing. Okay, so what I need then is... I'll add the stuff for your bow. What kind of axe would you like to use? Do you want to use a big two-hander, or would you like to use a one-handed battle axe?
We're going to go one-handed.
Okay. So you're going to be an axe and board fighter. Pretty interesting. Or combatant, at least. Mm-hmm. One thing I need to do the next time I know I'm going to run this game beforehand is make a list of words other than fell or shadow to use, because I used those a lot yesterday.
There's a great... I'll flip you a PDF. Somebody wrote up for this one a great PDF of suggestions for words from Tolkien that are great for evocative descriptions of things like this.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so, an axe. Your axe. 5 edge is 12. Injury. Boy, oh boy, if you injure with an axe, that is bad news. Wow. Okay. Injury. Damage 5. Edge 10. Okay, and then the what the hope stat is for James, you can use your hope, you spend it as a resource to add the non-favored attribute to the result of your dice roll, unless it is a favored attribute, in which case you get to add your favored stat then. And it's dictated by what column the skills are in, and then all weapon skills get to add body. So,
okay.
Like in your case, the swords, when you're using a short sword, it is favored, so you would use your favored body when adding to the result if you spend hope.
Okay.
Okay, done with that.
Okay, encumbrance is 1. Dagger damage is 3. I'm getting to know the stats now. Look at that. It's all coming together.
So I've spent my points.
Excellent. Okay.
Choose a calling and favored skills. I think I've already done that.
Okay.
Right. Generate the scores for endurance and hope.
I will do that for you in just 2 seconds here.
Right.
I'm trying to find the... Yeah, this is another thing, like, not having the called shots stats in the same area as the weapons, like...
Yep.
It's a small thing, but it's just like the... and, I mean, it's a layout issue, so, I mean, it's really not a huge problem. No war horses for hobbits. You are correct, James. That fabled hobbit cavalry shall not be riding in our game. All right, so then, Sean, what you get to pick last here is your gear. So I've included the one of each weapon that you are proficient in.
Endurance and hope? You got that?
Oh, sorry. Right. Yep. Hold on here. Your endurance and hope will be at... Oop. Oh, you know, I don't even know if it's in Bree, but I know where I can find it in the Adventurer's Companion. Okay. Oh, and your languages too. Languages will matter again too. I loved how much languages played had an actual presence in yesterday's game too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your base heart is a 7. Oh, great. So you are one relatively tough mamma jamma. And your hope. Man of Bree. Oh. All right. So that is, you got your hope and your endurance recorded. So you have a total of 27. Now you get to pick your gear. So you can put down under your gear summer traveling clothes that have summer traveling gear that has an encumbrance of 2.
Okay.
And then we get to pick your armor. So your armor is listed on the in the core rulebook on page 123. But basically, it's there's a description of the armor, but every 4 points of encumbrance gives you 1 dice of protection. So you kind of pick how much encumbrance you can live with, and then the rest is your what do you call it? Your is the cushion you have for getting injured or getting fatigued.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of going with the ranger concept.
Okay.
So I'm thinking leather corselet.
Yeah, that or a mail shirt. I don't think there's a stealth penalty necessarily. Nope.
No penalty for armor except for the weariness thing.
Yeah. So if you really want to have a big bucket of endurance points to suck up hits, then definitely leather corselet is the way to go.
I'm going leather corselet.
Okay, so go ahead and under your gear, leather corselet at encumbrance 8, and under your armor, put 2. Now, do you wish to carry a shield as well?
No.
No shield, okay. Then, I know I said we're going to stick with the core rulebook, but did you want to be a 2-weapon fighter, or do you see yourself as a 2-weapon fighter?
It's possible.
Okay, so if so, then you might want to pick, on page 126 are the weapons. You might want to pick a second weapon to carry around. And
where is the armor on the... Oh, I got it. Never mind.
Okay, and then the way that 2-weapon fighting... And I guess, for those listening at home, it's... The extra options we're talking about are from the Adventurer's Companion. And the Adventurer's Companion does have some really, really good combat rolls. I'm just not familiar enough with the game to include everything. There's some really great rolls expanding called shots in it too, and if I ran it on a long-term basis, I would definitely make sure I understood those rolls and use them, because I think it adds a lot to the game, but I just don't know them well enough right now to use them today.
You told me 126 to pick another weapon?
Yes, and then the way it works, so if you were in the forward stance, you can do 2-weapon attack. First attack, rolling the primary weapon skill and is resolved normally. If it's successful, it's followed immediately by another attack using the secondary weapon skill. This is also resolved normally and must target the same target number. But for the length of the round, the target number to hit you is reduced by an amount equal to the sum of the encumbrance scores of the 2 weapons you use. So it makes you get a chance to hit hard, but it reduces the chance of the target number to hit you. You don't automatically get that. That's only when you do make both attacks. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure. That's a bit of risk reward on your part if you want to do that, but I'll leave it to you. What do you think?
And this is something you choose now because you're choosing another weapon?
No, it's just that if you like a dagger, again, like a dagger is kind of a garbage weapon. It's really difficult to do substantial damage with it. So you could 2-weapon. Although, actually, you know what? If you're using your axe, which has an encumbrance of 2 and a dagger, and you decided to 2-weapon fight, like you don't need to make there's no feat selection or anything like that. You can just automatically do that. If you choose to fight with those 2, what it would do is if you hit with your axe, you could then automatically attack with your dagger, but the target number to hit you would be reduced by 2, which is the encumbrance of both weapons together. So I guess there's the upside to fighting with a dagger.
Yeah.
Is that it's not really, you could fight with 2 daggers and not suffer any penalty to hit. Just that the likelihood of doing a lot of damage is pretty minimal.
Right. Because I was otherwise thinking of fighting with 2 axes, but
yeah, you could definitely. So what that would do then is, because the encumbrance is 2, you just add another axe on. It'll bump your encumbrance up. When you attack with 2 axes, it would do increase your target number to be hit by 4, or decrease it by 4.
Right. I'll go axe dagger. That's kind of intriguing.
Okay, so then you don't need to change anything about your character. You've already got the dagger.
Yep.
Doesn't weigh anything. All right. So I think then you spent your experience points
for skills, right?
Yep.
Yep.
We've got your 4 favored stats. Excellent. Does anyone have any last questions about their characters? Let's see here. Oh, we need pictures for your guys too. Hold on. I actually have. Unless if you guys have something you want to upload, you can go ahead and do that for your characters. If not, I do have a couple pictures of hobbits because, oh yeah, I've played them before.
I'm thinking of a very young lad.
Very young lad. Okay, cool. Let's see here.
33.
Okay. Here,
Have you got anyone?
I do. Let me get your character. Oopsies. There we go, James. Let me just edit the sucker here. I'll change your name here. So your character's Branderbrass Took. Is that right?
Yep, that's
okay.
Me.
Excellent. Just want to make sure I was typing it. I can't actually see it while I'm doing that. And here's old. Gosh, what was my character's name again, Arlen?
Rufus?
Rufus! Right, Rufus Burrows.
Did he have red hair?
He did not. There you go. How's that looking?
That'll do.
Okay.
With his sword.
With his sword, yeah. I'm bringing an apple. Let's see here. Sean, your character is Giles?
Giles.
Giles. And do you have a last name? I think men of Bree have surnames as well.
Let's see.
And there are some suggested ones there.
Yeah, it took Giles came from that. Is it usually pronounced Giles?
It's your character. You can call it whatever you like.
I'll go Giles.
Giles, okay. So family names are on page 42 of the core rulebook, or of the Bree book, and they've got great alliterative names too: Mossburn, Lilyhawk, Kettlegrass.
Right. I'm gonna go with Rushlight.
Love it. Giles Rushlight. Okay. Let me change your character name for you. And if you've got a picture of your character that you'd like to upload, you go ahead and do that. You should be able. Let me just change it here. Okay. Okay. So I believe we are all done then. Is that right? Oh, we just need the tokens for the guys. Let me. I'm gonna create tokens, and then Sean, you're looking for an image for your dude.
I am.
For Giles. And Helldeer looks like he's got a image already. Excellent. Okay, so then what we'll maybe do is once I get these tokens set up here, guys, we will take our mid-session break. We'll come back and see what happens.
We're playing till 1, is that right?
Till we started at 11 o'clock my time, so another hour and a half.
Okay. Cool. Sorry. Right.
Okay, and let's see here. We'll put your... The red bar, guys, will be your encumbrance, or your endurance, rather, and the blue bar will be your strain. Or strain. Fucking games. Too many games. Right. Will be your hope.
found him.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay. Oh, hell dear. And I noticed yesterday watching the stream, because of the tokens, or because of the nature of this game, I don't really need to have it overlap. We're not using a map, so I don't really need to have it overlapping, which we do in the other games. So there we go. I'll do that. That way you can actually see your full illustration of your character. All right. So what I want you guys to think about during the break as well, once we've got... hey, we got a picture for Giles. Fantastic. Is what brings you to Bree? I mean, obviously Giles, I guess, grew up here. But... show that. Now, do I have... Boom. Boom. Okay. Oh, darn it. Hold on, guys. Below. All right, any last questions before we take our quick break here, guys? Or we...
I don't think so.
Characters are off to the races. Excellent. And what I'm going to ask you to do when we get back is I will quickly get... Oopsies, wrong thing. I'll get from you what your traits are, just so I can keep track of those suckers. Okay. And it is, of course, not obligatory, but if you do a silly accent, that is always welcome in Middle-earth.
Kind of think of what a Mena Bree accent would be.
I think from the, what do you call it, the films, it's fairly close to that West Country accent that Sam has, isn't it?
So long as it's not Birmingham.
Promi accent.
Samwise?
Samwise, yeah. Like, Samwise has a... That's why I tried to go for a similar accent with Rufus, is because that's what he clearly based his on. And I'm just thinking of... the only Breelander that we really meet is Barlaam Butterbur, and he seems to have that same West Country accent. Gandalf! Oh, great beard then. I haven't seen him for 6 months.
Mm.
Not that you have to do that by any means. Honestly, it's, you know what, the way that it was explained to me was like kind of like a pirate, but just a little bit softer on the R's. That's what West Country, and I guess it's because a lot of sailors came from the West Country. So the reason that people think of Caribbean pirates as having that accent is because a lot of them came from the West Country.
I'm definitely interested. It's a matter of the spirit being willing, but my accent is weak. I am...
hey, there's absolutely... Yeah, there's no wrong accent as far as I'm concerned. Oh, darn it. Hold on, I set your thing up wrong here. Bottom below. There we go. Okay, great. All right. So we have that done. I'll create duplicates of the characters here, and then let's take our quick break here, guys, and then we will come back and meet these characters in game. Sound good?
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Back in a moment, folks. All right, sorry about that, guys. I think while we're waiting, I'll use one of the random tables in here to generate up some guests.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, man. So have you guys given some thought as to what brought you? We're going to be opening up in the Prancing Pony.
Nice.
Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, Dinah. Oh, 1 second. I'm actually maybe a delivery here. I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. Sorry. And for those listening at home, sorry about that. Oh, sorry. Hey. So Canada Post delivers on Sundays now, which means I got Modifius and Piso, so
Nice.
I'll be busy. Brent's...
Do you know what each is?
One is cult divinity whatever. It's the cult thing. I think one of you guys was talking it up, so I was like, all right,
Divinity Lost.
Yes, yeah. So I've got that, and then the Paizo one is just my regular subscription stuff. So I think there's a the new Starfinder books in there. Oof.
Regular subscription stuff. That sounds hardcore.
No, it's a thing Paizo has where if you're getting the modules or the books, you can sign up for different subscription things, and you get a small discount on it. So,
nice. And
you get an automatic PDF copy of the book, so it's cool. All right, so sorry guys, sorry about that. Did you guys have a chance to talk about why you guys were here? I'll close the door. Sorry. 1 second. All right, honey. Yeah, you show me.
Why are we at the Prancing Pony?
Good girl.
Well, I be out looking for...
Nothing's as exciting as guests for Emmy. So, all right.
What were you saying, James?
Well, I've heard all these stories from Mr. Baggins.
Oh, James, if you could move your... There you go.
Yep.
I've been hearing all these things from the Bagginses about exciting things and exciting people off to the northeast. And I've decided to take myself off and learn about it firsthand.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't be just living on rumors.
And the Prancing Pony, what area is that in? Is that in Bree?
That's in Bree.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm there for some pipe repair. I had a little pipe problem.
Okay.
And,
oh, you're from Bree originally too, right?
I am, and I think my reward is pipe of the Prancing Pony. So I'm there to get my Prancing Pony pipe worked on.
Okay. So you're and what about Heladir?
I think I'm there. I've been spending some time maybe in the Grey Havens, maybe even in Rivendell, kind of over the Misty Mountains away from Mirkwood, and okay. I'm sort of a way stop for me right now, but...
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a map of the Bree regions uploaded to the game just yet, but the region that is near you to the south, well, in the road, there's the east road that heads across the region. To the south west are the Barrow Downs. To the northeast is the Chetwood, and to the east are the Midgewater Marshes, and west takes you back into towards the Shire. Our session will open with you guys sitting around or in the what do you call it? In the common area of the Prancing Pony. So the I'm not sure if it is the only inn that is in the heart of that is in Bree, but it is certainly the heart of Bree, and it is the way stop for anyone heading one direction or the other across Bree. Let me resize one thing here, guys. I'm gonna try and do something here. Let's do this. I'm gonna see if I can make this display a little better. Now, I am going to assume that you guys actually do know each other. So, how do we think that you guys have met thus far?
Well, I'd say when I first arrived in Bree and I came to the Prancing Pony, I saw this big man with a very, very fine pipe. And I'm a bit of an amateur of the smoking art myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to introduce myself to go and find out more about his background and where he got this from.
Okay.
We've probably done some smoking together.
Nice. Sean, would you kindly go to your cog and change your display name to be Giles?
Yes, good call.
Just because I will absolutely forget that and call you Sigdyke.
Yes.
All right. you know, I'll put your tokens underneath your characters for now. All right, so, and Heladir, how do you think that you introduced yourself to these fine fellows?
Well, I am a fairly accomplished singer of songs and player of musical instruments. So I suspect that in the sort of common area, I, you know, played something elvish and haunting, and that was a sort of introduction between us.
Okay. So the evening at the Prancing Pony is quite busy. It is. Not only is there an interesting, you know, selection of travelers coming from all over the Eregion area, there does appear to be some. There are some hobbits in from Buckland. There are a trio of dwarves in from the Blue Mountains. There are a group of hobbits from Saddle, and there's a guy who seems to be a bit of a wild man who seems to have consumed a little too much of the beer and seems to be pressing a little too much for a scrap. But there is, oh, you know, one thing I want to shoot from you guys first here. Can I get, I'll start with Heladir, and then we'll go to Giles, and then we'll go to Brandabras. Would you guys kindly tell me what your traits are?
So my traits, I have Elven lore, Mirkwood lore, and Shadow lore.
Whoa, slower.
Yep.
Elven lore?
Elven lore.
Mirkwood lore?
Mirkwood lore.
Shadow
lore.
And what are your distinctive features?
Is fair spoken.
Okay.
And proud.
Proud, awesome. Okay, how about Giles?
Giles' specialties are appraising and smoking.
Appraising, smoking, okay.
Distinctive features are clever and reckless.
Clever and reckless. So you are a warden, right?
Correct.
You also have the trait Shadow lore.
Okay, Shadow lore.
And Brandabras?
Brandabras is smoking, of course.
Smoking, yeah.
Storytelling and folklore.
Telling, folklore. And his distinctive features?
Adventurous and bold.
Awesome. And bold. Excellent. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so you guys are... you know, you've taken a Heladir. It seems that tonight is a little too busy for you to really to do your musical thing. So we'll assume that you guys, over the last couple of days, having stopped off in Bree, you have had an opportunity to meet each other, and you're sharing a drink with each other right now, and kind of otherwise socializing with people in the Prancing Pony. But there's something that is, it's a little busier in here tonight, and it seems that the locals are particularly interested in gossiping about something, because there's been somewhat of a scandalous event. And do you think, let's see here, well, here's what we'll let you guys do. Why doesn't everyone give me a riddle check, please, against TN of 14. So the way you roll that, click on the dice and roll your, you'll enter the target number of 14. Ooh, Gandalf dice.
I'm so good.
Nice.
I'm not good at riddles, but I'm good at this riddle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, and Giles, everybody. Oh, and great success from Brandabras. So the reason we know you got a great success there, James, because you rolled a 6.
Uh-huh.
You see this, every time you roll a 6, that upgrades the quality of success, assuming as the total is a success. All right, so here's what we think you pick up here. So, overall, here's the gist first, and then we'll talk about what you guys have learned over the course of the different conversations you've had with the locals. And you can picture this as, we'll use the, Fellowship of the Ring kind of picture as a frame of reference, because it's an easier one to. I think we've all seen the film, so we all sort of know that. So in that big common area, there's not like sinister people hunched over the bar and like people sitting in the corner smoking pipes and hidden. This is a very boisterous. This is the active pub right now. And what everyone's gossiping about, and the way they gossip is very much the way you picture like small town pub gossiping, where like someone shouts at someone else across the room, and someone else is sort of like, butting by and bringing drinks to the table, and they give their 2 cents as they walk on, and then carry on, take their seat, and then that's sort of the way that it's going. This is not hushed kind of talking. And then anytime someone says something really scandalous, the whole pub goes, ooh! And they're like, I'm just saying what you're thinking! That's all! That's all! Oh. What the talk is tonight is the scandal of a local family known as the Heathertons. And I think, Giles, you know about the Heathertons. Timeas Heatherton was a fine old guy who was always ready to stand, his round at the pony, always with a smile on his face and a kind word to passers-by. Kind of old man that everyone has good things to say about it, and apparently someone who had coin on hand. Only the older souls of Bree remember a time when Timeas was not so upstanding of a citizen. The scandal of this present hour is because Timeas has recently passed on. And today was his funeral. And the scandal currently is that Timeas's favored nephew, Tomas, missed his own uncle's funeral. When he should have been helping to carry the uncle's body to the graveyard outside of Bree, he was nowhere to be seen. A matter of great scandal and general comment among the worthies of Bree. Have you ever heard something more shameful for a nephew to miss his own uncle's burial?
I think not.
So that's what you guys have. This is sort of the scuttlebutt that's going around. I think it sounds like Brandebras. This is very reminiscent of life in the Shire. You've
disrespecting your family.
And also the fact that while there are shadows grow in the wilder places of Eregion, this is what they're preoccupied with: is someone didn't attend his uncle's funeral. But so maybe we'll go in order that I got the roles in Heladir. What you find is what you hear of is, and I think it's from. Well, you tell me. Who do you think this is from? It's from a local. Who do you think? Like an old lady, old man, a younger guy, older woman? What do you think?
Maybe a local who heard me sing, 2 or 3 nights ago, and who, it feels like passing on some information because of that.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's a wannabe kind of younger, like storyteller kind of type, right? Someone else or someone who just enjoys. No, you know what it is? It's an older guy who enjoys stories too. And he's been bending your ear about, this time. He's probably in his, 70s, and he keeps telling you about the time when he was 12 when an elf came by, and he heard an elf song. I tells you, I've never heard anything quite as beautiful as that. Not until I heard your song yesterday, Mr. Elf. So beautiful. I'm sorry you had to listen to all these crones gossiping about old Timeas. Timeas, let me tell you, you might hear them talking about how Timeas was travelling in his youth and came back and brought a bunch of riches with him. Well, he wasn't travelling, he was adventuring with strange and unwholesome fellows. From his adventures he brought back a fair amount of coin, enough to keep him comfortable for many years, and he shared only a little bit of that with his family. So all these people gnashing their teeth and pulling their hair about old Timeas and Tomas not showing up for his funeral. Piffles, what I say. It's easy to look generous when you're sitting on a mountain of gold, isn't it? Oh, listen to me. I'm becoming just like them old crones now. Going on. Say, if I can get them to shut up, to pipe down, Mr. Elf, would you favour us with one more of your songs, then?
Another song, perhaps another night. It seems unlikely that they'll leave off from the gossip tonight.
Cool, right. And he kind of clacks his cane against the ground. I'll be sure to be around for another night, then. Cool. Did I tell you about the time that I heard an elf sing when I was 12? You get the distinct feeling that he has no recollection of having told you that story before.
Mm-hmm.
So, And then Giles, I think you're up next here. So you got a success as well, and I think this is someone who you know from town. So who do you think is? We can picture this is happening when you're going up to get a new pint, and someone bumps into you, and it's like, Giles, you're in town.
It's I think it's the pipe merchant.
Oh yeah, love it. Okay.
And so we've talked many times about leaf, about different kinds of leaf and modifications I could possibly make to my pipe, the new ones that he's crafted. And so we bumped into
So let's see his name. Let me look at the things here. His name is Oswald. Oswald. Giles. So glad to see you. I've got your pipe for you.
Oswald, I've been looking for you for days.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I've been so hard at work on this lovely pipe of yours.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Oi. Cork, such a problem with this Timeas, you know?
It's quite the scandal today.
Tell you, we're gonna miss old Timeas around here, but poor Timeas, I tell you. Did you hear where he was found? He wasn't found at that funeral 2 days ago. But
tell me.
They found him, and after the funeral, in Timeas's house. He was in his house tearing the place apart, no doubt looking for that buried treasure.
Oh,
well,
interesting.
Timeas's father, he cast him into the streets.
Huh?
Now, he hasn't been seen all day.
You don't say.
Well, I'm not surprised he's not found. Can you believe that?
Wow.
The old man's not even in the ground. Can't spare him time to look at the funeral, and then sure enough, he goes trying to pick his bones, so to speak.
Seems suspicious.
That it does. It's no wonder he's not showing his face around here, though.
Right. Maybe still looking for, maybe digging into the ground at this point.
Cor, can you imagine digging up his old uncle like that? And after all the things Timeas did for that family, I tell you. Anyway.
I assume this isn't the last we've heard of this.
Cor, I hope so. I'd like things to go back to normal. Did you see there was an elf singing in here the other night?
Oh, yeah. It was a nice change from that what's-his-name who can't carry a tune.
Oh, indeed, indeed. I wish that one would take to some traveling, I tell you. Oh, hello, my lovely. I'd like a bitter, please. And he kind of orders the drink, and then that's about all you get from them.
Make it two.
And, nice. Brandabras, you've actually chatted to a few people. Do you think it's, who do you think that they are?
Well, I think I was just going along to get myself another beer, as I do.
Yep.
And because I'm nearer ankle height than the rest of the clientele,
yep,
I hear two people talking to each other, and they're just not noticing me, but they're having a bit of a whisper of their secrets.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, okay. So what you overhear, for one, Timeas died a week ago, but was only buried 2 days ago. So I said it was today. I was wrong about that. So it's he died a week ago, was buried 2 days ago. And what you hear these guys furtively whispering about is that they think that Timeas was murdered. And that the murderer may not have even been human.
Ooh.
These guys are talking in hushed tones, claiming that they saw strange lights and perhaps even specters lurking outside of Timeas' house a few days ago. So after he passed, but before he was put in the ground. So, that is what you guys have heard thus far. You guys all kind of meet back up, and the evening is going to continue. Oh yeah, that's fine. Effort counts for absolutely everything. So, it's wait till I start doing something other than this accent, and then it slowly shifts into Scottish, regardless of what I try and make it do.
Right. Maybe a little Russian always creeps in.
Yeah, and by Scottish I mean like my shitty impersonation of Scottish. So.
Right.
Glaswegian elves, I gotta hear it.
Yeah. So what we're going to transition into now, guys, is into what the game calls an encounter. So if you guys are curious of learning a little more about what the heck's going on here, we are first going to start with a what is it here? I got to start putting tabs in this book to mark where certain things are.
Tabs are big.
Yeah. Is it a lore check, Arlen,
for bonus success dice?
Yes.
For an encounter, it's an insight.
Insight. Okay. So here's what we can do to start, guys, is everyone can go ahead and give me an insight roll against a TN of 14. What this will tell us, if you succeed, is extra dice you get that you can then spend to modify your dice rolls. Heladir, not so much.
Yep. I'm from a very different culture than these people.
Definitely.
Of course.
Okay. Brando Brass, not terrific.
This is right in Guile's wheelhouse.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Great success.
Oh, did it show up? I'm not seeing it.
Oh, you don't see mine?
Do you guys see it?
Yep. You're 18, right?
Oh, it's at the top. Forgive me. You rolled right ahead. Yeah, that's excellent. And it's a great success. So you have 2 dice, Giles. So 2 dice that you can use. They don't last beyond the encounter, so make sure you make use of them. Okay. And I can't... rules is written. I think you have to decide beforehand, but I really dislike character assets that you may spend but never get any benefit from. So you can spend them after the roll.
Okay.
It doesn't guarantee success anyway. You still may roll a 1.
Sure.
But that's the case. Okay, guys. So now, and because you got a success, Giles, and these are your people, it makes sense that you would get the success because you know how to go about this. Encounters are sort of like the abstracted version of social encounters. So within this thing, there's going to be, depending on what these people value, it will dictate how many failures that the scene can kind of tolerate before you can't really gather any more information. But what you're going to be doing is try and find out either something or decide for yourself what you want to either achieve or what you want to get out of the sort of scene, and then we role play through what's happening when you make when we see the results of your individual roles. These folks, I think, are more interested in valor. So the highest valor I'm with you guys is a 2, which means the threshold here is a 2. And because of what you said, Heladir, of having sung before, and because Giles is from here, I'm actually going to bump it up by 1 more. So threshold is 3. This will tolerate a failure of up to 3 for the duration of the scene until we get out of it. What you know, Giles, is that the things that are particular that will be helpful here is to get information out of some of the more stubborn drunk people. Courtesy would be very helpful, and insight might be helpful as well to sort of guide who if you want to learn more information about this, if this does pique your interest, who you might want to speak to. And that also, riddle could also do that. Riddle is insight is to sort of like judge people's bearing and their intent and things like that. Riddle is sort of like understanding the complexities of social interaction. It's reading subtext into what's being said. So, who would like to go first? Anyone want to have a go at a scene here?
Well, this is
Well, I guess let's talk about this. First off, what does this interest you guys? Is this something that piques your...
Yeah, I mean, I think this Giles as a ranger, he's a little more...
ranger wannabe.
He's a little more people-oriented in his rangering than he is like the loner. So like he's like out in the wilderness gathering information from like passerbys, that kind of ranger, rather than hiding in the bush and watching.
Okay.
So this is kind of his thing. I mean, it's a bar, but he's still of the he's a gregarious, the more unusual gregarious ranger.
Okay.
So he's ready.
What do Heladir and Brandebras think of this stuff?
Heladir is kind of interested, especially assuming that we kind of have a chance to sort of share notes and everything, a little bit about him being a former adventurer is interesting. Heladir is not a human intelligence type adventurer. He has no useful skills of the listed ones. He's much better at lore and reading books than reading people. So I'm not going to be good for this scene, but that's okay.
So, what about Brandebras? What does he make of all of this?
Well, Brandebras is rather excited by this. This is the sort of thing he left the Shire to hear about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So here's what I will say. So both Heladir and Giles have you have the trait of shadow lore. What I will tell you is what you know, and I know you as the players likely know this stuff, but your characters are aware that the Barrow Downs to the south east or southwest rather, they are said to be haunted, from a forgotten kingdom, at least forgotten as far as the locals are, full of, now unnamed or names that are lost to history, kings and whatnot. And dark spirits seem to lurk in those regions. So that is definitely one of the sources of, go to bed early or the Barrow spirits will get you. And in addition, there are the not so far away, there are the Trollshaws, a little further to the north. And there's the South Downs as well too, which likewise, big scary things sometimes come wandering down from the north, and yeah, that also can be. Orcs and goblins definitely not, but trolls. Trolls can be quite bold, and even for something as large as what a troll is, they can be devilishly clever, too. So there's all sorts of threats that could be lurking out here, too. When you hear about the lights outside of the things that Brandebras overheard, the lights outside of Timeas's house as well, that I think what you know is that it is, for Heladir and Giles, it does seem unlikely that things would just be lurking outside there without doing something. The types of unquiet spirits that you have heard about or learned of in your travels, Heladir, and your stories, and then Giles in your actual experience of talking to the strange folk who, adventure. Those things tend to have a distinct purpose. They don't tend to kind of creep and, lurk around. So that's what you all know from your traits as well. So who wants to try first here? Who would like to try and do a scene to try and get something from these folks?
I'm ready. Giles is ready to mix it up.
And what do you want to do?
Let's see. He would like, he's actually both insight and courtesy are in his wheelhouse. So he could go either one of those. He's going to try to ingratiate himself using courtesy.
Love it.
With
there's actually an old drunk guy who seems to be he seems that he may, if you can ingratiate to this guy, he may be willing to share some stuff. I think as a local, that, and let's see here, this guy's name will be, not Oswald, because I've used that. His name will be, hold on, Knob. Old Knob.
Yeah, it's clear that Knob's tongue is loosened like usual.
Yep.
And so over Giles goes.
Okay.
Being far more courteous to Knob than anyone else.
Yeah. I think because of your because you're a local, because it sounds like you have talked to old Knob before. Why don't you set the TN as a 12?
All right.
So this is a good opportunity to talk about spending hope. Yes. So if you want to turn that failure into a success, what you can do is spend a point of hope. And then courtesy is what, guys? Under which?
Heart.
So you could think, you could spend that a point of hope, reduce your hope by 1, and add your heart score, which I think is like a 7, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I will do so.
Okay. Excellent. So, you're sitting down with this guy, and you know, he's very deep in his cups at this point too, and kind of you know, maybe it's the same old guy that you were talking to, Heladir, before too. He's you know, stopped talking to you, and when Giles came over to talk to you, you sort of like offloaded him onto Giles. And how do you sort of frame the conversation with him, Giles?
I say, and are we still talking about Knob, or is this Oswald?
This is old Knob.
It is Knob. Okay.
Yep.
So I say, Knob, good to see you. You know, I've heard this current scuttlebutt, and I knew who to come to. You know, giving him like, you know, he's the man. He's always here. He's always listening. He knows what's going on, and no one gives him credit.
Yeah.
So I say, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter.
Oh, you know me. I don't like to chat. I don't like to gossip about that stuff. I was just talking to an elf here. Where'd that elf go? Did I tell you about the time I heard an elf sing when I was only? Oh,
you might have, but I'd love to hear it again as soon as we discuss old Timeas and Timeas.
Oh right, Timeas and Timeas. Timeas, I tell you, I was telling an elf about that. Timeas, he went out. He was no traveler. He was an adventurer.
Oh.
They won't talk about it no more, but you knew who I seen him with.
Who?
I seen him with a ranger.
Oh.
He used to travel with him, I tell you.
Really?
Those as was I remember. He didn't go out with that ranger. He'd be brought back with that ranger. If you follow my meaning.
You meaning like gathering him up, getting him back where he's supposed to be?
What I know is that old Timeas, he figured himself a kind of adventurer, but as is so often with their kind, he bit off a lot more than what he could swallow.
Oh, so he was rescued.
He was rescued by that ranger, and that's a strange thing for that lot to do, isn't it?
It is.
Wait.
Done a few myself.
Hold on. You're that Giles, aren't you? Don't you hang around with them rangers.
I must confess, I've been out there keeping the region safe myself.
Oh, keeping them safe? That's not what them rangers do. They get all sorts of skulking and sneaking and whispering around. You want to stay clear of them rangers, Giles.
Will do, Knob. I will consider your counsel. So, how do you think old Timeas kicked it?
Oh, he kicked it. Listen to you talking about the dead like that. Coof. Well, what I've heard is he got it was not a natural death. If you follow my meaning.
I do.
Say, did you see an elf? I was talking to one a moment ago.
I'll help you look for him as soon as. How do you think he actually did? Was he unnatural? Like someone knocked him off?
Who knocked off who?
Timeas.
He's dead.
I heard that. Was it someone that took matters into their own hands? You think?
What, with Timeas?
Yeah.
You know what? I can tell you. And he leans in, and he stinks of beer, and kind of puts his arm around you and brings in, his sunken, baggy face. He looks around conspiratorially.
He was no traveler. He's trying to say he was a traveler. He was an adventurer.
And he kind of launches in. You've got, unfortunately, about as much as what old Knob can focus on in this point.
Okay.
So, while Giles is doing that, what about Brandabras or Heladir? Now, one thing I will point out is that though the game does, like, you have your characters who are going to have better skills and other things, the traits are really the thing that allows you to open the door to other options for this too. So Haladir, even though you may not be awesome at like insight or whatever else too, I do know that
I am fair-spoken.
You are fair-spoken,
yeah.
Absolutely. So a clever player like yourself may try to squirrel some other thing that he's a little better at and roll against a higher target number if he was so mechanically inclined. But first, let's talk about Brandabras, because he's definitely, it sounds like, I'll let you consider that, Arlen. Brandabras, you seem to have taken an interest in this, the intriguing mystery of the late Timeas Heatherton.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
So I think I'm going to go back to the two guys I was hearing whispering to each other.
Yeah.
And in a very courteous way, say, "Gentlemen, I'm terribly sorry, but I couldn't help overhearing that you had a mysterious story. And I, a Brandabar of the Shire, I'm out here looking to experience such things, and I would be ever so grateful if such fine men of the world like yourself could enlighten me."
Okay. So that to me sounds like courtesy. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So why don't you give us a courtesy roll against a TN of 14, please. Nice. So it's a regular success. So, while they do seem a little suspicious of you to start, I mean, you are quite bold. And that is definitely a bold thing to say, "I overheard your secret conversation. I want to hear more." And it turns out, like, at first they're a little standoffish with you because you're not a local, but you pull a chair up and you pop yourself up into it too. And they're very quickly after they see how charming you are and how interested you are in what they're having to say. They're now hunched around as the two Breelander men and a little hobbit sitting around over their drinks talking in whispered tones. So one of the guys who's, let's see here. We'll give him a name, too. I love the name lists in here. They're great. Ari! It's Ari and Larry. It's these two guys.
Ari and Larry?
Ari and Larry. So Harry and Larry are talking about, and they do, like, they reiterate what you said. There's some wraith that was drifting outside his home. Terrifying stuff, I say. It turns out that one of the reasons why they're talking about this quite so much is because old Ari... turns out Timeas Heatherton owed him 6 coppers. And Ari seems to think that it was right inconsiderate of him because he knew he was dying. The old man knew he was dying, and still, rich as he was, he did not pay me back my 6 coppers. Like, I mean, he even arranged to make his own funeral arrangements and paid for the undertaker in advance.
Oh, that is a bit unreasonable.
Any coppers for old Harry? No.
A man should look after his debts, is what I say.
That's what I always say. I've always heard you people are quite sensible that way. And he kind of, toasts you, and they all take a drink again. But about that right, though. Quite unnatural, it lurking around outside there.
Have you had any songs or poems or anything like that of wraiths in this part? I know you've got the Barrow Downs and everything, but you were saying about floating lights and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Me old nan used to say, dark things come from there. Ghosts and such. Terrifying things. Oh, no one with good sense goes to the Barrow Downs. No one with good sense. No, they say that old Timeas, he travelled far and wide before he settled down back in Bree.
So whereabouts did he go? Have you had any stories of where he made this fortune?
Well, and they look around again conspiratorially. I tell you what, the old, much as he was generous with his money and round the pony every now and then,
what was interesting is he never lived high in the hog, as they say. He was never quite extravagant with his money, not like some types you see around here. Instead, what would happen is when the Heathertons had a bad harvest or a lean year, what you'd see, old Timeas, he'd disappear. And then, a few days later, suddenly, old Timeas is back, and he's got some old coins to pay, just enough to tide over the family till those bad times are gone. You ask me, he's got some kind of, had some kind of treasure hidden somewhere, and he was saving it up. He was a stash, that's right, my hobbit. I tell you, he's got that out there somewhere. They actually don't seem to know that Timeas tore up the old guy's place trying to find stuff. So if you want to share that with them, that may be a currency, gossip for these two old guys. People, talk about knitting circles being gossips, but these two certainly put any knitting circle to shame with how much they're going. So if you chose to share that with them, that may actually...
Yeah, I would be saying that, because, so do you think his family knew about his stash and where it were? Because I heard a rumour his nephew was around, poking around his place and digging things up.
Whoa. And these guys are just like... they're in the same way that like remorseless gossips just love a juicy tidbit that makes someone else. It's the Breelander equivalent of Schadenfreude. The two of them are just like, oh, you don't say. So he missed his funeral. He missed his uncle's funeral because he was so busy trying to tear the house apart to find his stash. Cool. And this is Larry laughing at this, and Harry's like, I don't know why that's funny. He still owes me 6 coppers. And he's, oh, come on. You're not going to see any of that anyway. I take it that, if Thomas isn't shown around, I suppose either he's trying to nurse his hurt for not finding that treasure, or he's skedaddled, because he's found it and gone off to somewhere else, eh?
You'd better be hoping he hasn't skedaddled. You might be able to get something out of his inheritance.
Ari kind of stops and is like,
you're right. Oh, God, tomorrow we got to go looking for that Thomas, see if he's got that money. He owes me 6 copper.
Was it only 6?
It was only 6. I'm not asking for more than what I'm owed.
That's righteous of you, I have to say.
Oh, Cor, I won't be accused of doing no usury, I'll tell you that.
So, is there anything else you want to sort of try and direct the conversation to with old Ari and Larry? Or is that about...
So when he went away the first time,
right,
and got his reputation as an adventurer, was he away long?
He's an adventurer. Well, he's before my time. Old Timeas is an old one. If you want to hear about them old times, you could try talking to old Nob, but seems old Nob's been taking advantage of whatever free beer's been flowing tonight, because he's about ready to fall over from the looks of things. And you can see Nob is sort of like resting on his cane, wobbling back and forth.
And I've seen he's been talking the hind legs off a donkey with that tall warden fella. So I think I'll steer clear there.
Yeah, Goyle's that one. He's a clever one. He's always been, but I tell ya, reckless. That's what we say. He jumps when you should look, and he looks when you should be looking away.
Inquisitive folk.
Oh, indeed.
Whew. He takes it to mean, like, you said that as a positive. He takes it as being like, yeah, inquisitive people. Just mind your own business. So, Heladir, one of the things you do, I think, notice... Oh, here, actually, let's do this. Why don't you give me an insight roll, please, Heladir? Hold on, would it be awareness? No, awareness. You can use awareness instead, sorry.
All right, 14.
TN of, yeah, I'll say 14. Ooh, close.
I think I might as well use a point of hope to boost that up to a success.
So what you can, what you pick up is as you're sitting. Well, I guess first off, what do you think? While everyone else is going around gossiping and talking and stuff like that, what has Haladir been doing?
Well, I've been thinking. So I'm thinking that I might be thinking about the lore of old Arnor and of the Barrow Downs, and thinking about wraiths and kind of what is it that these people might have seen and what would have caused that and all of that.
Okay. What you overhear, I think is well, there's two things I'll give you here. For one, what you overhear is there is an old farmer named Ernest Mugwort, and Ernest keeps complaining that his hens have quit laying, and he's just sort of like noisily squawking at the bar, and he thinks that one of them rangers crept into his barn a few nights ago and scared the hens. The straw in his barn has been smelly for days now. Which he knows he must have been a ranger, because with all the time that they spend tromping around the Midgewater marshes and all foul places, they always come back smelling like a sty. You hear that, and you heard about that rumor that Brandebras overheard about the murder and whatnot, and how it wasn't human. There are things in this region that do creep about, and that do hide in dark places, and definitely stink. That's, of course, trolls.
Yep.
So, you kind of overhear that, and you look over, and when you, let's see here. I think clever. Why don't... first off, so you guys still have yet to roll a failure. Does anyone else want to try and or do anything else? Is there any other scene we want to play out here? Try and gather more information, or do you want to do anything?
I have 2 dice, so they're itching. They're burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah.
I used one before, and I forgot about them.
I was thinking about it. Like, one of the things maybe I will do in future is add dots to your character token, so that way it's a way of tracking what so you know that they're there, and then you can get rid of them at the end of a scene.
Yeah. Anyone have any suggestions?
Well, I was kind of thinking, so it might be nice to do a check to see if wraiths from the Barrow Downs ever actually get to Bree, right? Do they ever? My understanding has been from the lore that they pretty much stay in the Barrow Downs, and that. Yep.
So you guys don't even need, with your Shadow Lore trait, I think you would know that the specters and wraiths and things like that, like they tend to be like whatever force it is that sort of that either the dark spirits inhabiting those areas, or whether it's actual things brought back from the beyond. They tend to be to lurk to certain regions, at least unless the shadow spreads. And Bree does not, Bree may not be the grandeur of the realm of Thranduil, but I mean it is not a place where the shadow lies.
Yep.
So yeah, that would be, you definitely know that does not jive with your experience.
Pretty easy to see a person in the night and think that that's some sort of wraith.
Most definitely, yeah.
I might hit up the barkeep.
Okay. So it's not Barlaman. This is because of the time period. This is well before the Fellowship of the Rings. So I think it's his dad who runs it right now. Let me see here. Where's the Prancing Pony? Prancing Pony. The innkeeper, Barnabas Butterbur. Nice. This is the book's illustration of old Barnabas.
Mm-hmm.
So he's behind the bar, serving more drinks again, and he sees you walk up. And do you think he knows you? Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And he probably knows everyone, which is kind of why I'm. And I live here. I'm from the area.
Yeah.
And I probably bring him news. I'm thinking that's my angle because I'm out and about. I go beyond Bree.
Yeah.
Or I go to the outlying areas as a ranger, and so when I come back in, he hits me up usually for info. So now I'm looking for some payback.
So he is not a. Well, he has no. You know what he's interested in is storytelling. I'm looking at what his specialities are, and yeah, he's definitely he wants to hear about stories you've encountered on the road. Yep. So he's finishes serving, and he's a pretty big man too. He's both tall and carries a lot of extra weight. And he sees you come up, and he says, "Giles, it's been an age."
Barnabas, how are you?
Good, my son. How are you?
I'm good. I'm usually curious about things outside of town, but I have to say today I'm a little curious about things here.
Oh, tell me. Timeas, that's all I can hear about. If anyone wants to talk about Timeas this, Timeas that, and that nephew is Thomas.
So I'm usually the one heralding, but do you have a story for me tonight about tonight's scandal?
Tonight's scandal. The man has been put in the ground for 2 days now, and we're still talking about what happened to his nephew. Why don't you? Let's see here. Give me. I think it's a riddle test.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be a riddle. TN will be 14, please.
All right.
Ooh, so you have to spend hope to get a success, but it'll be a great success.
Or my extra die.
Oh, your extra die!
Or your extra die.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So you can't possibly. Oh, but roll the dice because you may get a great success or an extraordinary success. Anyway, someone in chat said, every time I hear great success, I think of Borat. Now I do too. So, Ice King, you're not the only one. Right. Okay, so yes, you got a great success on that, and so he kind of looks around and leans, kind of gestures to the end of the bar where you guys go to talk to not be overheard by everyone. So you head to the far end, and he says it's funny you ask about the what's going on. Don't look too conspicuous like, but you see in that corner over there, that dwarf that's sitting there.
Over there.
Not with him. That's from the Blue Mountains. That and he's kind of like gesturing over to the far end there.
With the big nose.
Right near the one sitting right near Ari and Larry there.
Oh yeah.
And that other hobbit.
Yeah.
That feller's been in here, keeping to himself, won't talk to no one, smoking away. But I tell you, I know me an eavesdropper when I see one. And that boy's been dropping eaves all over the place.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. He's trying not to be seen and trying not to let it be known that he's been listening in, but for a man who's not, or for a dwarf who ain't related to either Timeas or Thomas or any of the Heathertons, that one seems right curious as to what's going on with him.
I have to agree. I recognize that pipe, and it holds a lot of leaf. It's the kind of person would have if they're going to be sitting somewhere all day, if you hear what I'm meaning.
I follow you rightly, Giles. That's a strange one, though, eh?
Interesting. Not too many dwarves in here, eh?
No. He wouldn't give me his name, either.
Huh.
He paid for a room for a couple of days, but wouldn't give me his name. Though them dwarves are sometimes quite restrained. They like to keep to themselves, unless you get some ale in him. And that one, he tells you, he's barely drank that at all. If he was a thirsty man, he certainly ain't when he came in here.
Interesting. Well, you do have the observant eye there, Barnabas. I have to give it to you.
Got to be, my son. It's part of the family business, as they say.
I appreciate it.
Now, what about you? Huh? What you've got to tell me, apart from getting yourself... I thought this is a mite too provincial for someone like you, though.
Well...
Wait, Giles, I don't suppose you're listening to that foolishness about the old man's gold.
Well, I'm a little curious, I have to say. And also there's some of the rumors that involve outsiders. So that's kind of in my wheelhouse as far as who's in town. Could they be involved?
I see you're talking to old Nob there. He's been bending your ear about the old days then.
What night doesn't he, huh? What night doesn't he? But
Poor.
I tell you. I have to say, it's kind of bent my ear, this whole current scandal. I'm curious.
Best thing that's happened in the last few days been that elf there singing. If he could get another song off it, at least I'll hear. It's got old Nob's attention and change everyone's mind, but still, I tells you, everyone wants to know about old Timeas.
Yeah. The singer has some pipes, doesn't he? I thought that was nice, the rendition he did.
Quite lovely. Nothing quite like that.
Pour me another bitter while you're at it.
All right, and he pours you another drink, and yeah, you are back off into the thing.
Yeah.
So, anything else want to happen, guys?
Oh, I wanted maybe we can edit the conversation a little bit retroactively. I wanted Giles to ask the barman about what sort of coin that Timeas paid with when he was feeling generous in the Prancing Pony.
So let's talk mechanics quickly. One of the things you can do is sort of like retroactively alter things based on your traits, and it turns out that Giles is quite clever.
Mm-hmm.
So he would probably think of that. So yes, let me see here. The coinage, I think, so first off, I don't know that Barnabas Butterbur knows necessarily where the coins come from. Like he wouldn't know the origin of them. What he knows is they're old, for sure. He knows they're old coins, which is not, with the people going back and forth through Bree. I'm not sure that's necessarily unusual, but you definitely know it is coins from a kingdom that is not minting coins any longer.
Yeah. Like the sort of kingdom that put together barrows of their old kings nearby, and
quite possible.
I could potentially ask him if he has one in the drawer and say, "You got
I think that. So, let's see here.
Being clever and all.
Sorry, guys. I'm just quickly seeing what. Okay, so I think. This is kind of a luck thing. So I think what we'll do is, I think to get him to go through his, because he's not going to like deposited stuff at a bank or something, right?
Or maybe persuade him to show me.
I think that's absolutely what it would be. Yeah. Persuade him to kind of look through and see if he can figure out what coins. I mean, I'm not sure that for as far as he's concerned, for the most part, it's coins, and we'll let the success dictate that. So I think I'm going to set the difficulty at 16, and the reason I'm setting it higher is because of it's to reflect the difficulty of whether he remembers this. If you're unsuccessful, it's not that he doesn't want to do it. It's going to be that, like, I can't remember what one he got.
Right.
So go ahead and give me a persuade check at TN 16, please.
So I have one more die left.
You do. Go ahead.
All right. Nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
Okay. So, so he does. He thinks he can't get it right now, but he'll definitely get that for you. Once the by, we'll say tomorrow. Tomorrow he'll have that for you.
Much appreciated.
Okay. Anything else happen, guys? I think you guys can assume that you guys have shared with each other what you've learned as well too. So, anyone have anything, any other scene they want to have happen before we transition to something different? Before the dragon attack? I mean,
Hasn't been a dragon in these parts for 500 years.
So good.
And just our luck it'd be tonight.
Yeah. So good. Okay, so then, guys, what happens is where do you think you are in the Prancing Pony at this point? Do you think, Bandabras, are you still talking to Ari and Larry?
Oh yes, I'm on my 3rd pint of black sheep ale.
Yeah.
Nice. It's good. It's good, that black sheep.
Oh, definitely. Okay. Giles, where do you think you are?
I mean, at this point, I think I've had a few while carousing for information, and now I'm milking if you will, my last pint of bitter, but I'm deep into a bag of leaf in front of the fire.
Okay. Thinking. Nice. Love it. How about Heladir? Where are you?
I am probably elves. They don't quite sleep like normal, but I'm in that kind of I'm like on the edge of a sort of meditative trance, sitting at the table, just kind of thinking about old lore and old rhymes of the old kingdom of Arnor and things like that. Okay,
so maybe like Heladir and Giles are actually sitting in kind of like big high back chairs in front of the fire.
Sure.
And both kind of studying. Heladir is lost in his thought. Giles is pipe, smoking away.
I think I'm half lidded, but I've got one eye out a little bit on that dwarf.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do this.
Looking him over.
Yeah. Why don't you give me I think it's a stealth roll I want here. Let's see how inconspicuous you can remain, and if there's anything you can pick up. Yeah, stealth. Give me a stealth roll, please.
Okay.
Against a TN of 16, actually, because this guy is pretty clever.
Trouble.
Oof. Okay. Stealth uses wits, and I think your wits is a 5, isn't it?
Not going to help.
Not going to help. Okay.
It's a 5 if stealth was favored, and it's not.
It's a 3. All right. So you're sitting there and you're piping away, and it turns out, like, I guess the liquor's gone a little more to your head, or the beer has gone a little more to your head than you expected. So I think you're sort of, you're puffing away in your pipe, and then you're sort of looking around the side of your chair, and then looking a little more, and a little more, and a little more, and then finally the dwarf, his eyes kind of like, they're darting back and forth, and then across the room underneath this big hood. And then his eyes meet yours, and you do this like, thing.
Right.
And then as you slowly, poke out again too.
Yeah.
His seat is now empty.
Oh.
And you look around and you see, he's going up the stairs up to his room. And you would like to spend time thinking about what's happened. And you're kind of like, and contemplating what the consequence and the meaning of that is, when suddenly the door bursts open of the Prancing Pony, and in comes
Dragonfire.
Timeas.
Timeas.
He comes staggering in here. Now, guys, we're going to be starting a new encounter right now. So let's do this. I know we're coming up to quit time. We'll do a little bit of this, and then we'll leave it with this. So here's this encounter is going to be wisdom based. So I think our highest. Oh no! Did everyone go Valor?
Yep.
Ooh.
I think so.
Unforgiving scene. So it's a 1. All right. So however, you do get a chance to refresh your dice. So I know you used up your 2 dice there, Giles. But go ahead and everyone make an insight check. Let's see how many advantage dice you get. Heladir gets zilch. Brandabas. Hey, Giles again, rocking a great success on it. You get 2 dice again.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thing.
Now, Brandabas, you could spend a point of hope to get that, if you like, but Giles, you've spent some hope, haven't you, or no?
I spent 1 point of hope.
Oh, okay.
I
don't think it's not tracking on your.
They're both 27. I think you did endurance twice instead of endurance and hope.
Oh, I marked myself down 1 hope. Is that not
no
right?
on the token?
Oh, that's me because I'm a dummy.
Both...
Okay, hold up. No, that's me. That's me. It's me. Once again, problem between keyboard and chair. There we go.
I'll go on then. I'll try this mechanic. So I'll take one.
Okay.
So what do I do?
Excellent. So no, you got one success. So now you also have one dice that you can spend on one of your rolls. So here's what happened, guys. Is this? Because both of you guys succeeded, you get to get some insight into what the sort of how this scene is going to play out. So this, as Timeas comes in, the locals are going to be the ones who sort of jump in and sort of take charge of this situation. If you guys want to sort of interject into this, to do sort of an introduction, what you will be using is Inspire. And you can choose to have just one person do the introduction for everybody, or you can do that individually if you like, whatever you like. And then once you do, so Brandabrass, I think you've seen, this is what you picked up, and is that, we're going to need to really, if we want to insert ourselves into whatever's going on here, that's the approach you will need to take. And what you know, Giles, with your great success, is that Persuade, you can either, what's likely going to happen is, if you want to speak to this terrified and rambling young man, what you could do is either try and persuade him to direct the conversation in the direction you want, or you could try and read between the lines and use riddle to figure out what he's actually saying. Okay. So what happens? Let's that is where you guys are. So Tom Heatherton is a strapping young youth with a mop of dark hair and the start of what might be a beard someday. He comes staggering in, and he's sort of rambling at this point. So first off, do you guys want to inject yourselves into this sort of thing? All the locals are up, and except for old Knob, who is kind of like falling asleep on his cane. What do you guys wish to do?
So how's everyone reacting though, apart from old Knob?
Well, they're sort of this kid, it seems to be in a panic. He's rambling about something, but because of the sort of the din of the crowd, you can't quite hear and you can't quite see. So that's where the way that encounters work, and encounters are what it's the one ring word for like social encounter, social interaction. Encounters normally have different stages. You roll your advantage thing to get your advantage dice, which you use throughout the scene. You then do an introduction to sort of like set in place the people who will be participating in that scene, and then you make a bunch of rolls based on what you want to do in that. If you want to convince someone to do something, if you want to learn information, if you want to, convince someone to join your team or something like that. That's what plays out in the meat of the encounter, and then the encounter ends if you reach the point where you've reached the threshold of failures. So, who would, I guess, assuming that you guys, what do you want to do? Do you want us to leave this kid to talk to anyone, or do you want to inject yourself in there?
I think Giles is going to jump in there.
Okay. So,
yeah.
What does he want to, so that this will be an Inspire. Now, this is not, these things, again, just like I said to Arlen, they're not hard, fast rules. You could choose to try, if you can tell me how you want to approach the situation, you might be able to use something else. I'll adjust the difficulty according to whatever it is you're trying to do. Some things may be more successful, some things may be less. Also, with that initial roll that you guys made, the insight roll, that will tell you whether, if you're successful, it could tell you when things will automatically be a failure, right? Like if you tried to use, say, awe in here, like stand up and you're like, everyone be quiet, right. That may not be terribly successful here. So it'll tell you whether there's dead roads. In this situation, there's none. You could do whatever you want. Inspire seems to be the one that is the most likely.
I'm going to try to convince. Timeas to tell the truth. To what's his side of things.
Okay.
Not through the nattering nabobs of the.
Well, before we get to that, you need to, again, right now, it's all the locals who are dealing with this, so you do need to inject yourself into this situation, and that to do that, you can, Inspire is the one that they suggest, right? But if you can give me another, and I can see why that is, it's like, if, if you inject yourself as the most capable people in the room, that might be why they would defer to you, and then Thomas would talk to you rather than a bunch of the other people in the town. Does that make sense, guys? So, like, why that's staged that way?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll go with inspire. We'll give it a shot.
Okay. So let's make a roll, and the difficulty of this will be 14.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh!
Trouble.
That is trouble. An Eye of Sauron. All right, so now normally, rules is written, rolling an Eye of Sauron does not have any effects really apart from when you're on a travel, like on doing the travel phase. And my thinking is, where's the fun in that? So I think there's what is going to happen. It's not that it's going to be an auto fail or anything like that. What it's going to be is that there's some situation that, you know what I think it is? You and Timeas have bad blood between you. So you get up, and what is it you say? We know that it's going to be unsuccessful, and Timeas is going to be like, "Get off me!" You know, or something.
Right. I think that I have. I mean, it's undoubtedly has to do with Guile's primary activity, which is to kind of patrol the border of the Bree.
Yep.
And so I've run into Timeas before. So that tale, that apparent quote unquote rumor heard that Timeas has been gathered by the Rangers.
That's Timeas.
Timeas. Oh,
that's his grandfather. Yeah, or his uncle.
It was ironic I heard that because I was one of the Rangers maybe that was involved in that.
Nope.
Oh, too long ago.
Sorry, that's too much. Yeah, that's.
Let's see. Well, maybe.
I hear. Let me just explain one thing too. You're not part of the Rangers. You're not part of the There is a specific cultural group that is one of the Dunedain that are the Rangers of the North.
Gotcha.
Okay. I think at this stage in that's not to say that you couldn't necessarily become a Ranger. At this stage of your character's career, you've heard stories about them. You like them. You maybe even met one at one time.
Gotcha.
But you're not. Part of the network of the Dunedain and whatnot. The reason being is because you're 22. For one thing, you're not a Dunedain, so there is a certain responsibility and whatnot that comes from that. They live a lot longer than what you guys do, and if they were just willy-nilly sharing information about what their activities are with other people, then that would be that could cause some real problems for them.
Maybe I noticed Timeas coming and going and his adventuring.
Timeas adventured. His uncle did. Timeas did not.
Steps at all. Okay.
No. I think this is a small town stuff, right? This is just at some point he did something to you. Sorry I don't mean to step on your ideas for your character here. It's just I want to make sure you understand. Remember that in the books, we learn as the readers that Aragorn or Strider is a good guy. Everyone else thinks he's a rogue or a criminal or an outlaw or something. And that's how the Rangers are thought of. It's also part of the reason they're able to do what they do. If everyone knew that these guys were wandering around in the wilds doing, good deeds and stuff like that, it would not take long for the forces of the enemy to be like, all right, fuck those guys, let's kill all of them. But if what anyone ever talks about is just, they're just criminals and rogues and rangers, you don't trust them and certainly don't talk about them. What a great way to hide in plain sight.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that when, you get in there kind of the idea of you wanting to be a Johnny-come-lately, not Johnny-come-lately, but wanting to be a type of go on the borders and whatnot, because there are people, when we learn about the actual Rangers, we do learn they are an incredibly, selfless and good organization. They even live with that kind of constant despising from the very people they're actually helping. So maybe there's someone either you or one of your family members or something what actually did see what the Rangers are really about, and that's what made your turn about. Sure. That sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So you leap in to try and do that, and I think what it is one of the other people in town it's a guy who just thinks that you are just so big for your britches. Guile, sit down. You think you're so important. Get out of here. Not everything's going to be something you got to inject yourself into. Calm down. And you're sort of elbowed out of the way. Heladir and Brandebras, you see this, that Giles has been put out of the way. Now, Giles can't do an introduction, and the difficulty is going to go up by 1 because of that Eye of Sauron. Does someone else want to try and jump in and inject yourselves into and be able to actually talk to Timeas? And for this, I will let, if someone's got a, what do you call it? A trait, I'll let you buy right in. If you can give me a good description of how that happens. Hold on, guys. Not all at once. Just one of you talk at a time. Hold on.
Well, being the bold little man that I am, I will swing over off my stool and stride over my little strides.
Yep.
And do a deep bow and say, "Good evening, sir. I am Bandobras Took of the North Farthing Tooks. I do see you very distressed tonight. Is it?
So why don't you give us...
Is there anything I can help you with?
Give us an Inspire check, please, against a TN of 15. And you remember that both, Giles rolled the Eye of Sauron, so that's kind of, he's hooped there, but Brandebras, you do have 1 dice as well. Oh! So do you want to use one of your dice?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
So what do I do?
Just roll a d6.
1d6.
Roll. Go.
You can spend hope on this as well. So that would be a... what do you call it? I mean, really, if you spend a point of hope, you're automatically going to get it, and you get a great success from it, too.
I will do that.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, your presence, everyone sort of like stands back and is kind of, what's going on with this little fellow? So now, and Giles, you sort of, your interlock, or your, the person who's giving you shit, is also kind of distracted by this charming, hobbit who just jumped in. So you kind of, you push past this guy and stand next to the hobbit. So you are free to interact with this as well, too. Heladir, did this bring you out of your reverie as well?
I think so. I don't think I'm going to actually introduce myself, but what I'd like to do is use my kind of keen elf ears to sort of stay very aware, not just of the conversation, but also if, like, something else is happening outside, like if there's an angry mob forming to take Timeas in or something like that.
Okay.
That seems like that would be useful to know about too.
All right. So I guess in the film version, what we see is you're still in your high back chair, and all we see is your head turns ever so slightly, and you still are looking off in the direction of the fire, but you're listening a little more keenly in with what is happening elsewhere in the Prancing Pony. So we're just past the quit time, guys. If you don't mind, we'll go like 5 more minutes. We'll make some dice rolls, we'll fill in some stuff, and then we'll leave it with that.
Sure.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
Okay. So what I would ask, first off, who's gonna then now, Giles, you are free. No more penalties any longer. Brandebras has done the necessary introduction. So Timeas is he turns to you, kind of wild-eyed. And you guys are free to try and interact with this guy. What happens next, guys? I'll hold up a picture of Timeas as well.
I'll give Bandebras an opportunity to roll right, if he wishes, to roll right into any questions for Timeas.
Yeah. So again, it's for this guy, the ones that are suggested are persuade, to try and like convince him to tell me what's happening, son, or riddle, where you're trying to read through the lines of whatever his ramblings are. You can also try and use another skill if you can. I think that may be more, or I think of a different approach to it too.
Timeas, are you going to continue, or would you want Giles to take a crack at him?
Well, if I'm on a roll with him, I'll suggest that. Why don't you draw up a chair and let me get you one of these fine pints of black sheep?
Arlen, advantage dice can be given to other characters, right?
They can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, guys, remember that your advantage dice you rolled. So, Giles currently has 2. you can share those.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah. So, Brandon Brass, why don't you give us a persuade? Is that what you're using? Persuade?
Well, I was going with courtesy, but maybe that's the wrong one. I'm trying to be terribly polite.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just adjust the target number a little bit in it. So why don't we make it a TN 16 against courtesy? Trying to get him comfortable so we can start talking in a reasonable way. Yeah, I'll buy that. That does seem like a very Hobbit thing to do, too.
Oh.
Nice! And a great success. So this guy, the kid, like, as much as he seems to be panicked, his mind's racing, for one thing, this little, charismatic hobbit suddenly appearing sort of, like, jars him from the panic that he was doing, and then your immediate assistance. And you can picture that there's this crowd that's all standing in it, and there's a little circle around there. Giles is on the edge, and you're just kind of talking like, come on, have a seat then, have a seat. And you lead him over, and the kid sits down, and all the crowd is just sort of like moving along with the two of you. You're like, give him room. And he goes and sits down, and here's a nice pint of bitter for you. Just have a sip of that, and then and he kind of, and he seems like you can now ask him some questions if you like. How do you want to handle this?
Sir, you seem right troubled. There's something weighing on your mind.
You'd be troubled too if you see a ghost.
A ghost?
A ghost. A ghost that looked right at me. It looked right at me.
How do you know he was a ghost? Ghost in these civilized parts?
He was a ghost out in the graveyard. And he was huge. A huge ghost. Grey-skinned, 9 or 10 feet tall. All hunched over and smelling like death and rotten meat.
You better take another gulp of that beer, I think.
And he downs the whole thing, and you can hear there's the murmur in the crowd right now. Hello, dear. I think we cut back to you, and one eyebrow cocks up.
Yep. I'm thinking my shadow lore is probably giving me the insight I need to tell that he's not talking about a ghost. He is, yeah.
Okay. So we cut back to, and Giles, you can feel free to, he's rolled so well, you can feel free to interject as well if you like.
Giles says, the ghost was of your, was it his father? It's his father?
His uncle.
Uncle.
Uncle Timeas.
The ghost was of your uncle?
I don't know what he was a ghost of. He was huge. Huge!
What were you doing in the graveyard, Thomas?
I was, and he looks around at the whole crowd, and the crowd's all kind of looking down at him. I was there to dig up my uncle's body, and the whole crowd's like, oh, just shocked at the turn of this. And there's a couple like clicking tongues of like, I knew that he would be doing that kind of thing. I always knew that about that kid. And Brandabas, it's back to you, and he says, but when I got there, a ghost was in there scrambling in the dirt, as if it was looking for something, trying to rejoin his body. So I turned and I ran. And he starts breaking down into tears and kind of like sobs and bends over, and half the crowd that sort of gathers like, oh, and half the crowd is like, oh, and
I'll pat him on the back and push your tankard back in his hand, and I say, there, have another drink, have another.
Okay.
You've clearly had a terrible shock.
So when we
and was he digging up your uncle? Was he right there?
So what we'll do, guys, is we're going to end in the middle of the scene, and there's and you're sort of patting the back, and you're like, oh, okay. And we look back, and now, in amongst the crowd, while there's everyone standing there, and they're kind of talking to each other, two things we notice. One of them standing at the back of this crowd now is Heladir, who seems that this thing has the description that he's given has certainly piqued his interest. Does that sound correct, Arlen?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. We also see something else, skulking at the top of the stairs. Right where it's about to go down, we see puffing on his pipe again, a hood pulled out, his beard and bulging nose, is that same dwarf.
One of those tall dwarf
Can one of us, like say one of us who was paying attention to what was going on, roll awareness to see if we see the dwarf as I stand up and kind of move over?
Absolutely. Give me an awareness at TN 16. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to give you an awareness 18. I'll tell you why. For one thing, this guy's very, very sneaky, and also, I think hearing about that ghost has probably piqued your interest.
Yep.
It's not impossible,
I think that's
but...
fair. No,
okay.
that seems totally fair. And nope. Not like that, but...
Do you have...
Not quite good enough. It's favored, but it's only 8 favored, so I couldn't get it.
But...
Oh, success dice.
Yes.
So I could spend a hope and get a die from Giles, or... Giles has 1 left, right?
Giles has 2, I think, actually.
Giles has 2. I'll get
Giles has 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and give us a D6 roll. Before you spend the hope, let's just see if there's even...
Yeah.
If there is a hope here. But I'm bummed.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So I'll spend a hope because awareness is favored, so I get +8 on top of that.
Nice.
And that means it's a great success because I rolled a 6.
So you are not even going to have to make a stealth check to see if this guy notices. What do we see? So you stand up there, the camera pans past you. We see him there. We go kind of carry back to you. There's the sobbing of the kid. There's the murmuring of the crowd. What do we see with Heladir to indicate that he knows the dwarf is there?
So Heladir, he sort of stands up tall, and surveying the crowd for a second, and walks around. And we see just as the dwarf kind of steps down on one of the steps, Heladir's ear gives a slight twitch. As he heard the creaking of the stair.
Excellent. So then, with that, guys, we will end our session. So the adventure is called Old Bones and Skin, and this is adventures from the Bree sourcebook.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah, cool.
So, James, this is your first time playing One Ring. What did you? We didn't get to any combat encounters or travel encounters. We just sat around and I did silly accents. How did you enjoy it so far?
No, I think it's very good. I enjoy it. I mean, I think we were saying earlier that having such a setting that everyone knows so well really helps you get into it. And of course, we're in the Prancing Pony, so straight away you're in there. But I like the specialities and distinctive features. I think it's a good way of reinforcing your character.
Totally, yeah, I totally agree.
I think the structure it gives you for role playing and interaction really help, because usually that comes with combat. You know, combat always has that heavy structure of rounds and initiative, so it helps you do combat well. In the same way, I think games tend to not have that structure for interaction. It just kind of leaves it open for a roll or something. Whereas this is very like, okay, make a roll. These are the dice you get to use for your scene. Yeah. You know, and now make these rolls. Like, it's much more structured, which I think really helps.
Yeah. You know, and one of the interesting things with that too is that often what I find with games, the approach they seem to take is they have a extraordinarily complex. If they're going to put like a game mechanic behind social structure, they'll have this really ornate set of game mechanics to govern that, and then combat will still be relatively fast and simple, right? Dice roll, success or fail, and then you go. This game does this interesting thing where it kind of inverts that, where the social component, it does have the thresholds and whatever, and there's the rolling for advantage, the introduction, and the other things, but it's otherwise very loosey-goosey in how you choose to play out those things. So there's a rule system there, but it's very lax as compared to combat, which is extremely regimented with the various stances and stuff like that. So it very much doesn't feel like another set of combat rules just with chatting. You know, you know the difference between this and between travel and between combat. And again, travel also has its own, it is again another very different set of mechanics that are at play. And while there's, you know, one way of looking at that is to say like, ugh, why don't we have streamlined mechanics? But the response to that would be, well, no, this makes each thing feel different. When you're traveling, it's not just combat by another name. It's not just rolling binary success fail before you do whatever. It's an elegant bit of game design that I did not recognize until just now. So really good point, Sean. Yeah,
I think it's also because we had the discussion of the review of Adventures in Middle Earth, and one of their criteria was that you had a unified set of mechanics to cover everything. And in a way, I disagree. Again, I disagree with that way of scoring, in that adapt it to make it better for that task at hand. I think is really worth it. Yes, it's convenient and easy for people to learn one set, but it's not always, I think, the right one. And there's some feedback on Coriolis as well about its spaceship combat being too crunchy. But for me, I think spaceship combat needs to have a fair amount of crunch, partly because if you get it wrong, it's TPK.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the it's funny how people talk about Shadowrun in the same vein too, because the differences between the editions. Shadowrun's been on this trajectory in the last 3 editions to get towards a streamlined, unified mechanic, but the people who are fans of earlier editions say, well, no, like the reason that all this stuff feels different and it's got different rules because it should feel. If you're hacking, it should feel different. I'm more on the streamlined side of the argument for that, but I understand better now where they're coming from that, because that's, you know, making combat feel different from decking, making that feel different from casting spells, make different from, I don't know, unarmed combat. That gives each of those things a unique kind of feel at the table, and it's not just the same thing. So, yeah, I think this hits a good balance where it has some good complexity to it, but not so much that it is hard for newcomers. I mean, you didn't even have the book in front of you. You made your full character, and you're able to play the full session without, you know, looking at a page.
Yeah. Well, and speaking about character creation, I think this game in particular does a really good job of giving you a sense that your character has a real past and has lived somewhere and has been a part of a culture and is not, right? It's kind of a standard. I think a lot of games that don't put in, you know, there's a real sense of like, my character is good at the things that matter to the Mirkwood elves. Right? So I'm good at shooting with a bow and I have this kind of elven lore, but I'm not, right? The Mirkwood elves in The Hobbit, when we meet them, they're kind of partiers with themselves, but they're not friendly. They're not talky people, any of that. And my character is not a talky character because his skills are from growing up among this people, right? And there's a really interesting sense of like, you know, what kind of, I think, as opposed to a more kind of free-form game, we talked about the idea of a game that does one thing versus a game that does everything, that this game does a really good job of doing, like, you know, no, your character grew up in a culture in this specific world. You have to live out in this kind of particular way that reflects the kind of whole vision of the game.
Yeah, there's definitely a buy-in to get enjoyment out of the game that you want to play a Tolkien-esque experience, right? Like you know, you don't want to be playing D&D, you don't be chucking spells and things like that. It's wow. Like this is, so 2 sessions so far. I have so much fun running this game. This is it's a really solid game. Someone asked in chat, are you getting into 2nd edition? Yes, John. And John also says, great West Country accent. Thank you, John. You're a liar, but it's very kind of you to lie.
I don't know about your experience. Worth pointing out from my experience, not a difficult game to GM for how many moving parts are going on and stuff. That this is not a particularly hard game to run.
Yeah, it's you know, for someone who runs a lot of different games, you know, the vast majority of the work that went into yesterday's session was my getting the facts right, like getting the structure of the story and the stuff you would worry about for other games. For today, I read the adventure, or the first couple pages of the adventure, while I was in the washroom during our break, you know, and we were able to go from the book. So, like, obviously not an ideal way to play, but for me, for someone who likes kind of flying by the seat of his pants in sessions, this is a great game. You know, speaking of which, guys, go to your character sheets, please. And if any of the skills that you used make sure to tick one advancement point on the right side of your thing. Because if you use it, so you get a free one if you have, if you've used it. If there's something that was a great success, and I don't mean like mechanically a great success, but I mean like you achieve something big from that. Like Brandabras, I think calming the kid down and getting in the seat, that would count as that. And if you guys can think of anything else that you did, let me know, and we'll talk about whether that got that.
One per scene.
It is.
So the skill groups thing, there's the dots by the side. What you're supposed to do is be counting dots as you play.
Yeah.
For each skill section. But it's probably in the realm. Helidir got 3. I was counting, so it's probably in the realm of 3 to 5 successful skill uses for advancement points. For you guys.
Because I used insight twice successfully.
Yeah. So what did Helidir use that was successful?
So I used awareness twice.
Yep. So you tick it once. Did you use one of those things in order to tick that second box? It does need to be something that's a substantial success. Because I'm looking at the rules right now.
Is that what it says? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, like it becomes progressively harder to tick the extra ones. If you tick it, the first one, you automatically do. As soon as you get a success, you get to tick that. Gotcha. Second one, if you can justify with one of your traits, or if you achieve, it says, if the action accomplished something out of the ordinary, the player obtained a great or an extraordinary success, or the player can reinforce the skill roll with invocation of a pertinent trait, then you get to tick that again. Your awareness, actually, you know what? So you did one awareness before, right? And there was a second one.
I did one awareness that was a regular success and one that was a great success.
You can absolutely tick 2.
Okay.
Yep, for your perception.
And then I had... what was the last one? I'm trying to look through the chat. I think it was like lore or something that I... Oh, no, it was my riddle roll that I got the Gandalf success on.
Oh, then yes, tick 1 on custom.
Yep.
Yep. So for each of you, for everyone else, I know that... Giles, and you used a courtesy at least once, right?
Oh, I did. Yes.
Yeah. So courtesy, you get that means you automatically get to tick custom.
Okay.
Let's see here. Explore hunting, no.
I used insight successfully a couple times, so maybe a tick on that.
On which one? Sorry.
Insight.
Yes, and you got old knob talking quite so you can tick insight a second time. Okay. And. So those stay there until we get to the fellowship phase, which is kind of like the downtime phase of this. In addition, everyone go ahead and mark down 1 experience point.
Now I put 1 in personality and 2 in custom. Due to the things around my beer table. First,
let's see here.
Listening in.
Yes.
Then inspiring to get back in the game with
courtesy.
The young lad when he came in, and then courtesy again to. So those were my 3.
Yeah, I definitely buy that. Yeah, I love this way of advancing characters too. It's very similar to Call of Cthulhu or RuneQuest, where you're ticking the thing, right? And I like the idea of the tracking the extra points to be something that's extraordinary, right? Also, so in future, you automatically, if you succeed on one of those things, you automatically take the first one. You don't need my permission to do that. You automatically get that because and I like that a lot. The way that the Forge in the Dark games go, and I think Powered by the Apocalypse might do this too, where you automatically, it's the players who get to calculate their XP. Did I do X? You look on your sheet, your playbook, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I whatever? And you just count your XP that way, rather than the DM arbitrarily handing out stuff.
So you go over with the GM whether you get the second tick, and
yes.
What about the third tick?
The third tick is it needs to be something that is exceptional. You obtained a great or an extraordinary success, and the player can reinforce it with the invocation of a pertinent trait.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And then during fellowship, you
cash it in, yeah, and then it doesn't have to be applied to the specific group. It just becomes a lump of points you can spend wherever you want. What it does is it incentivizes you trying different things. And because like if you are the type of gamer who wants to try and chase after XP, it's a great mechanic to concretely say, if I can successfully use XYZ, I'll get that point, and then I can start, get my XP I need to advance my character, which I think is a really great way of,
and it's also pretty clever because you only use the advancement points for the common skills. You use experience points for the weapon skills and for valor and wisdom, which means that even if you get to be really good at talky stuff, you can still be threatened by a party of orcs because you don't have your weapon skills as high.
Yeah, it's a really great game. Cool. Okay, so we got all that stuff down. So I guess for those listening at home, thanks so much for for joining us for this special for the special pickup session of the One Ring game. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below. We will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. In addition, you can, if you want to shower praise on the amazing role-playing done by our players as well, too, please don't hesitate to leave a comment there, and I will definitely pass that along. What an interesting bit of characters you guys have come together with, too. This is something I'll just not to keep showering more and more praise on it, too, but it's so interesting how easily you guys slip right into your characters by, it is sort of a build an archetype type thing, but the selection of traits in particular seem to inform how you guys are playing your characters in some of these scenes, and I love that. Anything that helps you get to the meat of how to roleplay the guy?
No, it does a good job.
Yeah, really great stuff. Yeah. So, in addition, you can reach me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Dungeon Musings. You can also reach me by email. My email address is dungeonmusings@gmail.com. And if you follow the link in the description of the video, you can follow us, or not follow us, you can join us on the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have channels dedicated to everything, not everything. We have very little things dedicated toward Jade Eggs. We do have, however, channels dedicated to all the games that we run on the channel, all the different campaigns that are ongoing. We have chat channels. We have a channel for finding a group. If you're having difficulty finding an online group, you can use that to try and find folks who will be running a game that you might want to play. It's also where I organize the monthly open table sessions that I run as well. So if you want to join me at the table, that's once a month. I run a session that is available for people who are not playing in a regular campaign of mine. In addition, there is a link in the description of the video to something called Heroes Save Villages. That is the charity fundraising campaign we run on the channel. That benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity. It's a really awesome organization that is active in over 130 countries and benefits over 80,000 orphan and abandoned children. And I'll point out as well, too, that yesterday's session of the One Ring was made possible because of a very generous donation from Arlen. So starting in January, we will be refreshing many of the rewards that we have there. Any money donated goes directly to SOS Children's Villages International. None of it goes to the channel. None of it goes to any other middlemen. It just helps them do the very good work that you can learn all about by following through that link. I don't want anyone to feel obliged, of course, but if you are inclined to toss any financial support in the direction of the channel, that is the direction I would encourage you to consider. Last but not least, I want to thank my brave fellowship here. So, Arlen, Sean, and James, who did not know we were going to play One Ring. We met and we found out at our start time that, sorry, we're down a player, so we need to find something else to play. And thanks to the keen interest from James about the past session as well, too, and this stellar experience that I had with Sean and Arlen the day before, these stalwart players dove right in, made characters, and we got to start playing again right away. So, guys, it is worth sitting again. Not every group is on board with that, so thank you so much for being so willing to roll with the Middle-earth punches, guys. I had so much fun today.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Thank you for running it short notice like this.
Awesome. So then, that will bring us to the end of our introduction to these heroes. Will it be the last time we see them? Probably not. Until next time then, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, happy gaming.